Hey everybody, welcome back to Ready Steady Play. I hope that you're all having a wonderful Saturday afternoon and that you are excited to hear about some projects on Kickstarter. I know that Chris has been doing a lot of research and I read some stuff too. So we're all ready to talk about some projects that are live and going on. And speaking of Chris, let's go ahead and bring him in. Is this the right one? There we go. Oh, hey Chris, how you doing?
Yeah, a lot of research. I mean, I appreciate you bigging me up there, because now I have to say insightful things.
Mostly trying to save my own face.
I was planning on just kind of prattling on as I usually do, as I usually do.
Offering up completely unsubstantiated opinions as is our want. Hey Margot, hey Selka, thanks so much for joining us on this live stream
Hey, everybody.
of that we are doing.
Kickstarter Kommentary, November 2020. We were a bit late with our last one, but we've managed to get this one in. Was our last one just barely in October? I think it might have been, actually.
Right at the end of October, yeah. And sort of, I feel like a lot has happened since then, and then right now, hey, Difter, Eddie, thanks so much for joining. So much for joining in. So I feel like there was a lot of stuff the last time we were talking about this, and then, hey, Mark, thanks for joining in, buddy. And then what's happened is, in the meantime, a lot of stuff ended, and now there's just sort of this. It's one thing I noticed actually was that Grand Austria Hotel is still live.
Yes, it's still. I also noticed that yesterday when I was looking through stuff. I guess it was a very long campaign.
Yeah,
I'm not quite sure what the logic is on some campaigns. So some like really big, massive campaigns only last a week, and then other really big, massive campaigns last a month. And I've yet to see a pattern of new companies do longer ones and more established companies do shorter ones or something like that. I have yet to spot the pattern.
Oh, it looks like it's over. I guess it must have ended some point earlier today.
Oh, maybe. I'm trying to find it now. Where is it?
I backed
Where are
this.
you?
I think I backed this, but I'm not sure. I feel
Well,
like I
that's one.
meant to back
You
this.
can't say that yet. That's one of the questions we have coming up.
Damn it! uh,
Grand Austria Hotel. There it is. Funded today. It funded today. So yeah, it's just ended.
according to my oh yeah, I was about to say according to my my app here, it's still got 2 hours, but then it updated.
I've only backed two things since our last Kickstarter commentary, so not that many.
Oh my god!
Wait
I've
and see what they were.
So many things.
You seem to have gotten worse since we started this, and I seem to have gotten better.
Oh dear, that's the opposite of it.
Well, I think we were both supposed to get better, weren't we? I think everyone was supposed to get better. That was the idea.
That is the idea. We were supposed to be more discerning.
Yeah, and I've had a lot of Kickstarters arrive in the last 3 weeks as well.
Well, I think if we shall we move straight into last time, did we back any of them?
Yes, I think we should, because you've already offered us some spoilers.
Well, let's go ahead and let's cover Grand Austria Hotel while we're here. Then I backed it.
Okay, you did. Okay.
I think you were less interested in it, whereas I was a lot keener on it than you were.
Yeah, that's a very fair analysis, and I did not back it as a result. I actually didn't. I didn't think you were going to back it. I was. You definitely were keener, but I didn't get the impression you were going to back it. Maybe I just didn't listen to you. That's possible.
I was definitely on the fence, and I sort of elected to back it last minute, and I think that's because I was definitely sort of thinking, do I really need another game, sort of Euro game like this in my collection? And the answer is no, I really didn't. But also, I'm just a big fan of Simone Luciani, and I couldn't help it.
I think that's probably the catalyst then. That's the difference, because I had the exact same question. I asked the same question myself, came to the same answer, and therefore didn't back it. But if you have a prior kind of relationship, so to speak, with the designer, which is positive, then that makes sense. That was the difference.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because
and
the answer to this question, do I need this, is always no. when you've got 300 odd games.
well, I suppose, I mean, and that sort of leads into a topic I'm actually going to sort of touch upon a bit later when we get to one of the games we're going to be talking about that's live at the moment. But one of the things I think that's really interesting is there's sort of the question like, yeah, I mean, do I really need this at a very high level? Is probably not if you already own 2 or 3 games. Like, even if you're playing every week, unless your games are, extremely simple, there's always more to discover in a game. Like, if you have say, I don't know, Terra Mystica with both expansions, you could probably play that every week for a year and still be discovering new stuff. Um, but that there's a certain kind of personality I think that's really into that kind of sort of exploration and perfection of a game system, and then there's a certain kind of personality that's really into discovering new games and trying to sort of work out strategies sort of from the unknown, right? I think
And
we
that's
talked
that's
about that
probably
before.
us.
And so I think I think Grand Austria Hotel, if you didn't have a sort of like um if you didn't have like a sort of worker placement action selection Euro management game in your collection, would be a solid addition if you were looking for sort of something middle to heavyweight to complement your collection. If you already have a bunch of those, then what you're really looking for is like sort of a unique new contribution that it makes. Although to be fair, it um it does come back to like what unique new things can games even do, and are they now, because there's so many games, just kind of reiterating, refining, and perfecting existing mechanisms. And I think one of the things that appealed to me about Grand Austria Hotel um, is that it has remained a classic. It's warranted a deluxeification edition, warranted this attention. So if it's just a robust classic, I still think that makes it really appealing to me.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a robust modern classic.
Yeah,
I
I've
think
got
definitely is fair.
the deluxeified version of Yokohama, which I really really like. So it's one of those things where it's just like it's I can really appreciate these sort of, and what I like about these as well is that they're from an age prior to Kickstarter when games felt really well developed. Whereas like nowadays a lot of Kickstarters do feel like a bit like a toss up. Like, what am I going to get something that's been well developed and something really good, or am I going to get something that's like, you know, um, half baked?
Yeah, because I don't think the original wasn't Kickstarter at all. I think it
No, it
just
wasn't.
showed up one day.
Yeah. So I'm really keen to get this through and give it a shot.
Oh, look at that! We're 7 minutes in, and the first Etherfields question has come up.
The best
And Eddie,
way to get more Etherfields fast is to support the channel on Patreon and at least a Ready Steady Player 2 level and vote for it every month. Wink. Okay,
Eddie, by the way,
shameless plug over.
I think I agree with you, Eddie, that it is hype when they do short ones. It's like it's to give you FOMO, I think, and then but they usually have like late pledge when they do anyway, so it's fake FOMO. But I think you're right. What's an X-Acto knife?
So this is an X-Acto knife is like a modeling knife
Oh, I
and
see.
or a
Okay,
box cutter. And basically
I own some. I just never knew the name in that case.
some maniacs don't like the vertical Etherfields board, so they're cutting it up and repositioning it.
Oh my God, really?
Yep. Yogi Bear, my eyes on you.
Yogi, are you actually cutting up your board and reconfiguring it? If so, you're a braver man than me, I should say. The eye sounds good.
Okay, so moving on. Let's get through these last month's ones real quick.
Heggers is calling you out, boy.
Heggers, I have a plan for you, Boot. Okay, let me.
He does. He
I
does.
do. I do have a
He
plan
has
for you,
discussed
Boot.
this with
You
me.
Boot will be happening in December. I promise. It's just taken me a long time because it is a challenge unlike any other.
No,
But I
in fairness,
promise we will have.
we even briefly discussed trying to do it with two of us. That fell apart very quickly, but it was it was just too much going on.
I wonder if Awakened Realms will send me ISS Vanguard. I guess we'll have to see. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications if you want to find out whether we'll get one. Okay, cool. Moving on. Project L Finesse. we talked about this briefly. Did you get involved in Project L?
No, I didn't, because it was just it ended up being too expensive. And I remember, I think I said last time, this was a game I kind of felt I missed out on when we saw it at Essen. I was like, oh, this looks really. I called you over and said, Mike, this looks cool. And you're like, oh yeah, back to that on Kickstarter. And I was like, what? I didn't know it was on. I'd never heard of this. And when I came back, I was like, I'm definitely going to pick it up. But then I looked through the campaign for our last Kickstarter campaign, Kickstarter commentary, and just I don't know. I just didn't want to spend the money on what it was, even though you speak reasonably highly of it.
Yeah, it's a peculiar game. So I've got this minus the finesse expansion, and I did pledge to get the finesse expansion.
Because it was much smaller, that was quite cheap. But the all-in pledge was quite a lot, wasn't it?
It was
for what it is.
€15 for the finesse expansion, but yeah,
Right.
the all-in pledge, which is the master pledge, which includes the finesse expansion plus everything previously, is €64.
Yeah.
It is, and that's partly because I've been playing it with Debbie, who you've now seen on the channel because she came and did the longest trench with me, but we played it a few times and she really, really liked it. And I just find it a very sort of calm, short, quick, pleasing diversion. It's not as tight as I think it could be. It's a bit, it feels, there's almost like, it's for something that's so basic, it almost feels like there's a little bit too much fiddliness somehow. But like I said, the components are really pleasing. The pieces, it's short. It's really quick to, I think. So I liked it, and I liked it enough that I was willing to check out finesse to get a bit of added complexity. So I think I'll keep it around.
There is a late pledge, it looks like.
If you want to get involved,
but
there's still time.
It just didn't have that. It didn't have the must need factor. I didn't think I get to the table very often. And sometimes I back a game even though I don't think I get to the table very often. But it has to have something really making me want it, like unbelievable artwork or components or something, or just a really interesting new mechanic, something. But yeah, so at least you've backed both of them so far.
I don't know what best at Star Trek. I don't know what you're talking about. You're talking about this? But yeah, I mean, yeah. So basically, Project
Too
L,
pricey.
Too pricey. It's good, but too pricey. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, like I said, I probably wouldn't have kept on to it if Debbie didn't like playing it, but she really likes it. So, that's enough for me. Like oftentimes, it's the social aspect that keeps it in the collection.
Yeah, it's very true.
All right, here we go. Next thing. For sale, Autorama. I think we both had kind of the same opinion on this, which was it's a fun little auctioning game, and it's completely unnecessary to back it on Kickstarter because Eagle Griffin games are completely acquirable at retail.
Yeah, and for sale, as I've said, I've played a lot on BGA since lockdown, and I don't know. I'd throw for sale into my collection if it was a small box that was cheap. I found it at a local store, but I don't think I'm not gonna back it on Kickstarter. So that was a pass.
Yep, so neither of us have.
Yeah, best of Star Trek. Same. We're clearly in on the same wavelength. Me and best of Star Trek. Also wants it, but just too pricey. Yeah, pick it up some other time maybe. We shall see.
All right, next. It's Endless Winter. Did you back this one?
No, this one I actually pretty much watched the clock tick down on. It was like 4 hours left or something. I went back into it again and was like, oh, I can't decide. And I then I then realized I've forgotten. I think I read the rulebook, I think, for this, didn't I? And then I realized I've forgotten how this game even plays. I can't remember. I should have gone back and watched our video on it. And I just decided not to back it in. I see late pledges available there, so I might read. Yeah, because I remember it was an interesting looking worker placement game, but it just didn't have enough to pull me to. The point is, I didn't back it there and then, right? I didn't back it after our video, and that's kind of that's the kind of how I tend to be. If I don't do something straight away, if it doesn't grab me, I tend to ooh and ah over it, and then 9 times out of 10 don't. It's actually quite rare that I ooh and hour of something and then go for it. And whether that's the right decision or not doesn't really say anything about the quality of the game. It's just about my about my if I need to do something not on a whim, but on a
impulse.
An impulse, yeah. If I don't back something on impulse, I tend to not back it.
Which is exactly what we're trying to prevent with this series, but we'll see.
Well, yeah, you're right. And that's the thing. Having that, taking the time to dig deeper, is probably what's saving me making these pledges. But sorry, and what about yourself, Mike? Did you back this?
I did back it actually. It's full of mechanisms that I like. I thought it looked cool and interesting, and it had a lot of sort of praise, nice components. I like tile laying.
Have you had a massive pay rise?
No, I haven't. I just don't buy anything else. This is all I buy.
So much worse than me.
I know. That's why I'm the child in the thumbnail.
Yeah, I know.
You know, and I need to do a series, a spin-off series, where I'm basically going through my collection and selling all the Kickstarters that I don't need to keep anymore because I just never play them. I've got so much stuff in Shrink.
Oh dear.
So anyway, yeah, but I don't know. I really like deck building, and I really like sort of Euro stuff, and just everything about this looks really
yes, it had deck building in it. I remember now.
I mean,
yes,
and to be quite frank, when this arrives, it's probably going to come down to like, I might even need to make a video where it's like Endless Winter versus Northgard, you know, because both of them are like sort of tile placement, area, sort of like tile control deck building games, and I've backed them both. Do I need them both? Absolutely not. They look quite similar. So we'll see what happens when those show up. But in any case,
yes, I remember this now. I think it was just, again, for the all-in, it's just too expensive. Because I don't think I've ever backed a Kickstarter at anything lower than gameplay all-in. Don't get me wrong, I frequently back at a low. I very rarely back at the all-in level to get like the art book and the playmat and all that stuff. But I hate missing out on gameplay stuff.
Yeah, the gameplay stuff, yeah.
And therefore, I include in that deluxe components. So they wanted €100 for the all. I think that was what kind of probably threw me off at the end.
€100 for the you mean for the
deluxe version with all the gameplay all in.
God, look, almost 12,000 backers. That's a nuts amount of backers.
It is a lot.
Wow.
But what I am going to do is I am going to ask them to notify me. I'm just doing it right now when the late pledge is open. So I've done that.
So development is by Johnny Pack, actually, who, if you don't know, is the guy behind Hangtown and Coloma, both of which are really interesting worker placement games. It's sort of how do I put it? Like rotating action selection stuff. So they were so it's reassuring that he was involved in that as well. So that's interesting. And okay, let's move on because time is ticking away.
And these are last month's games. These aren't hot anymore.
Oh god damn it! I literally just I'm an idiot. I think this next one, I think we both backed it. So let's go ahead. Go. Boom. Frostpunk, the board game. Did you back
this
it?
This one I backed, yeah. Yeah.
Almost 19,000 backers. That's nuts. That's so many.
Yeah, that is a lot. But I suppose this has a lot of what's the word? A lot of stardom behind it, insofar as it's based on a successful video game. It's by Adam Kopowski, who designed Nemesis. So it's got a lot of not stardom. I don't know what the word is. There's a word that people use in sentences like these.
I don't know. Drawing power, pedigree.
Sure. Sure, a lot of pedigree. That's probably a good one. It's got a lot of pedigree behind it. Yeah, this was one I didn't really have any interest in at all until I researched it for the video. And I ended up watching some gameplay of it as well. The video game. It's a sort of video game I hate. Intricate base management. I just don't have it. I just don't find it interesting. But it's a sort of board game I really enjoy. So I just kind of went for it. I was being a good boy with overall not backing all these Kickstarters. So this one was my splurge.
I think I just got a shipping notification, but it's in German and I can't read it.
I did not get any shipping notification, so it must be something I didn't back.
What is this? I wouldn't normally do this, but I thought it feels appropriate to check a Kickstarter shipping notification on a Kickstarter live stream. I have no idea. I'm gonna have to punch this into literally like into Google Translate or something. Anyway, okay. So yes, I looked at this along with you, and it looked like Euro-based base management, a really tight resource management system with the sort of storytelling elements of from like this War of Mine layered over the top, and I was like, this looks really interesting and cool. I enjoyed playing this War of Mine, even though as a game it was super basic. The storybook and the moral dilemmas were the most interesting part of that. And you can find the whole playthrough I did with Ben on the channel, which I think is one of our most interesting playthroughs, certainly. I was about to say entertaining, but it's kind of... I suppose it's entertaining in the same way, a tragic movie's entertaining, because it is a really sad story. But yeah, I was all on board with Frostpunk. I thought it looked really interesting. So I backed that, I think, at like the sort of gamer all-in level.
Yeah, so I actually went.
Might have done collector's edition. Actually, I'm not sure.
I doubt he did. Collector's edition, most of that money is going towards just a standalone miniature, which is literally there for no reason.
I didn't get the standalone.
I only went for the €75 core for now. My plan being that when the Pledge Manager comes out, I will not consider it that I'm spending 100 and whatever it is, €50 on the game. If I upgrade, I probably will upgrade, to be honest. So I'm gonna want the deluxe components and stuff, but I just didn't want to pay it all now. So I know I've got the core game at the very least coming if I go cold on it in the meantime. But I have the option to upgrade, which I probably will. But yeah, I'm excited about it.
Cold on Frostpunk.
That pun was not intended, but it was a very happy coincidence. Yeah, I'm excited about it. It looks good, because I think I said last time this War of Mine didn't really do it for me with the moral choices, which is really an area I'm very interested in. I really enjoy that in games. I don't know. This War of Mine just didn't do it for me. Neither the video game nor the board game. Even though I enjoyed the board game and we'll have it and we'll play it again. I like the more macro decision making in this way. What's this one like? Are you going to? Do we pad out the food with sawdust? Do we do an emergency shift, make everyone work 24 hours in the cold because we have an emergency?
I really like the marriage of narrative with like a whole sort of civilization, and I think that's why I compared it to this War of Mine, because in that one it's sort of a civilization, but really it's like 4 or 5 characters in a house, right? So it's a very tiny community.
But that should be
bigger community. So it's and I can't think of anything else like that, where you're managing an entire community with all these sort of really in-depth narrative moral choices.
No. Nor can I. That
exists in gaming, let alone in my collection. It might. I just can't think of one.
On paper, I would have thought that it would stand to reason that making these decisions regarding named individuals would actually carry more weight, but I don't think it does in this War of Mine, because yes, it's meant to be these on a micro level with these named characters, but the characters aren't characterized properly at all. There's no real attempts to characterize them. The only thing in this War of Mine that they do to give the characters character is that they're addicted to coffee or they're addicted to cigarettes. That's literally it. There's nothing about them We don't know anything of their backstory. We don't know anything of their hopes or dreams. We don't care. I don't care about them as individuals. So weirdly enough, I find myself capable of caring much more about a society, and knowing, because then you end up imprinting your own kind of experiences onto these fictional ant people, so to speak. It's weird. It's actually, I find it easy.
This War of Mine. Sorry, I was going to say, are you talking about this War of Mine, the video game or the board game?
Both.
Both. I didn't play the video game, but I found the characters.
It's the same.
I felt for the characters in perhaps just because of the situation.
Yeah, but I just don't think that. I don't think of them as, they're not people to me, because they don't have any of the things that that are required to care about them as people.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely accept the criticism that they were not fleshed out as characters. So, in many ways, they were all just kind of avatars of my own personality. You know?
Exactly. Whereas in Frostpunk, because it's on such a macro level, you don't need that fleshing out of individuals, because you're actually impacting a whole society, and like it's also a much more relatable thing. Just the fact that they're, I mean, actually, funny enough, this Warmind does have the concept of cold as well, but it's such a basic thing that these people are cold and hungry, and you're trying, and they're having to work, and I don't know. I find that a lot easier to be empathetic with than kind of just being told, oh, this is a man who's sad because he stole from old people, during a war, and now you're depressed, and oh, thank you, game, for telling me that my character is depressed. It's like, I think that's I just think it's crap.
Oh, I
don't like when games tell me how I feel. Well, that's not me, it's the avatar, but still, whatever. Anyway, I'm excited about Frostpunk.
Difter says the children add-on for this War of Mine helped expand the characters a bit. If that's something that you're interested in, you can check that out. But we're moving on. We've got the next thing. Here we go. Boom, Yedo, Deluxe Master Set.
I did not back this.
Even after I talked about it.
I can't even remember that. I remember this one. Yeah, this one didn't even, like, I don't think this one even caught my interest at all, to be honest. Oh no, this one had quite some. Oh yeah, no, I kind of decided while you were talking I wasn't going to back this one.
Well, I did back I backed at the level that is, the unpleasant $12, the unpleasant surprise expansion, which is basically just a few new cards and some corrected cards for the first run of this. I already have it. So, yep, that's about that really. I've not yet had a chance to play it again. I would be interested in trying the solo mode, I suppose. I would like to play it again, having played it once already and thought it was okay. I have, some positives and some negatives about it, but overall, and I do like that it's worker placement, and it does do lots of interesting different things with worker placement. Good, because there's nothing I hate more than a worker placement game, which is there's only one kind of worker, and the most optimal strategy is to unlock more of them. That's the worst, So I particularly like this because having more workers is not necessarily, or more disciples, they're called disciples. And the specialists are an expansion, so you might not be playing with the specialists. There are workers that just have a special power. But the unlocking all of your disciples as fast as possible is not essential to winning, and the specialists make it more. I like this one. I'm definitely glad to have it. I'm going to check it out again to see if it remains in the collection. Which is something I say as though I sell the games I own. But I am planning to have a massive cull soon because I need.
I also need to, but I probably
thought
won't.
I might make a video out of it, actually, like going through the collection and deciding what lives and what dies,
Backer vote.
Darkest Dungeon.
Not backer vote, viewer vote.
Yeah,
Darkest Dungeon. I did not back this. I probably made that reasonably clear that I thought it seemed very generic as a dungeon crawler. I did read the rule book for this one and just didn't see anything standing out. I don't have that attachment because I haven't played the video game. Rich has played the video game and really enjoys it, and as a result, he actually messaged me like a day or two after our last video saying, "Oh my god, you see this? It looks amazing." And I was
3,000 backers, 29,000 backers. Holy!
So this could end up being brilliant. I certainly hope it does for the 28,842 backers. I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm sure it'll be perfectly good. Mythic make good games. It looks cool. I'm sure it'll be a perfectly competent dungeon crawl. It just seemed a bit mediocre for me.
You say Mythic make good games. I feel like Mythic is a great example of a studio who could make good games if they had more development. You know, like everything they make feels like it's good, but just like the opposite of pulp. Like just everything's a diamond in the rough. Like if I can wade through all of the unfinished elements, I can find a good game underneath, you know?
The video game is perfect, says Yogi.
It is impossible to do it justice in a board game. Fair enough.
I mean, if that's true, Yogi, I feel vindicated.
Well,
you did back it.
What I'm thinking about is Reichbusters, right? Which you know,
that's Mythic as well.
Yeah,
and that was a pretty generic dungeon crawl, wasn't it?
Well, it had some interesting mechanisms and stuff like that, but where it fell down was on the is the Batman not miniatures game, but the Batman,
that's Monolith.
That's Monolith, right? Monolith and Mythic.
That is unpolished.
They used to be partners, and then they split. They did Pantheon together, right? But Reichbusters had the exact same problem in that game, which was a ton of keywords that you just were not easily accessible. So you spent most of the game, instead of having fun and rolling dice and fighting Nazis, checking rules references and looking up things. And, you know, that's just the fastest way to put me off any kind of thing like this, you know? And, I mean, the worst culprit for these kinds of keywords and things like that is too many bones. But they just bury you in player aids. And it's so easy to reference these things that ultimately, you know, they get around it. So I think everyone who's putting out something like that could learn a lesson from them. And I think, you know, it's kind of the same. I kind of had the same feeling about Joan of Arc, which is that the game is actually great, but the scenarios were not well written enough. They weren't defined enough. That I had so many questions. There was only like 1 or 2 scenarios that I really wanted to play, you know. And as a result, they did a 1.5 Kickstarter with a redone scenario book that's going to fix all these problems. But I just kind of feel like, you know, I want to see a couple of campaigns from them where when I get the product, I'm just like, yeah, this, you know, this is the best possible experience, or not the best possible, but at least an extremely good experience right out the box. You know, I'm not going to worry about going and downloading player aids or anything like that. You know, and I guess a lot of Kickstarters have this problem, but I just kind of feel like if they could have sort of been particularly... I mean, to be fair, though, actually, now that I've said that, Super Fantasy Brawl is tight as hell and really, really good.
Well, that's the thing. I think you were right to dissect my comment there, because I think I was making a rather generous sweeping statement based on my love for Super Fantasy Brawl. But as you continue to give examples, you're right. They definitely don't have a flawless record. But I trust them to make a perfectly fun dungeon crawl from this IP. Is what I was saying. But it definitely won't be for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and this is a topic we're going to come to a bit later on as well, I think, when I talk about when we get to currently live. But, well, we'll save it for that. If you want to hear more, wait for a bit longer in the video. Next thing. This thing. This was our honorable mention.
I was about to say, I don't even remember. Did we mention this?
We did. I think, actually, we might have skipped over it because we were short on time.
Oh, okay, that explains a lot. Because I don't remember looking at this at all.
Oh yeah, we might have skipped over it because we were short on time.
Kabuto Sumo, you can pre-order. It looks like Pusher Monster. What is this? I think it is Pusher Monster. It's Pusher Monster, basically. Yeah, it is. It kind of is. Didn't back it. Moving on.
Anyway,
just like,
this is still available if you like dexterity games and quick and fun things.
Yeah.
There you go.
Unless anyone really wants to dive deep into that, I suggest we move on.
Anyway, it's heads up, it's still around. Okay, here we go. Next thing. Freedom 5, did you back it?
No, because I found it very annoying how obnoxiously frequently I was getting advertised it on YouTube.
Oh my god, yeah, there were a lot of that. That's such a funny stance.
Do you know what I've actually really enjoying about YouTube? I say I'm getting, because obviously because the Oculus Quest requires a Facebook account. Obviously, Facebook knows I have it. So and I assume that means the entire internet knows I have it. I am getting literally almost every YouTube video I watch. I get advertised Super Hot VR. And what I find so funny is the fact that I already bought and played that on the PC years ago. So I will never be buying. I already own. I'm not buying it on your stupid Oculus Quest. So you can advertise it to me as much as you want. It is not working. I don't know. I just get a sort of pleasure from knowing that they're completely failing their targeted marketing.
Your attempts to influence me are futile.
Literally futile. But yeah, I also got a lot of ads for this. So I know. Like I'm not a huge fan of what's it called? Sentinel of the Multiverse.
Sentinel Universe.
Sentinels of the Multiverse. So isn't that what it's called?
Sure.
Yeah, just didn't have much interest.
I have no real good justification for not being interested in this because it's got like a ton of great pedigree. The design team is awesome. The components look great. It's a cool cooperative game. I might sorry for just looking for something specifically. They seem to have changed the pictures on the campaign because it's not the same. I guess they've gone to their miss the campaign thing now. Anyway, you can still get involved, I think, with this. But they had a comic book style board, which I wasn't like super keen on. But I think that's super subjective. The board looked like comic book panels, right? But
in fairness, the upgrade tokens look awesome.
Yeah, there's literally no. Oh yeah, there it is. I think it looks something like this. Anyway, it's a cooperative game and plays the heroes from Sentinels of the Multiverse against the villains from that world. I didn't particularly like Sentinels of the Multiverse, the game. I found it was too prone to alpha gaming. It was much too bitty. I didn't feel like there was enough interesting decisions. Just much too fiddly. But for what I got out of it. But like I said, this looked like, I mean, it's not the same design team. It's literally just borrowing the IP. Completely different kind of game. Great designers, so I can't really justify why I didn't back this or show any interest in it, but there you go.
Sometimes you don't know why things appeal to you and don't appeal to you. But, yeah.
We're trying to be more sensible and less emotional, but I feel like I'm failing.
Even when you don't back something, it's for a stupid reason.
Exactly. I back stuff for stupid reasons. I don't back stuff for stupid reasons. I'm still backing too much. This whole show's letting me down. Here we go. Next thing. Sakura Arms.
Sakura Arms. I did not back this. I mean, like I said, I only backed 2 things, and I've told you one of them already.
I don't know what the other could be because this is the last thing on the list.
You do. we'll come to it soon.
Okay.
Oh, this game. I remember this game.
Okay, so this is the Japanese fighting game that's being translated over to English by Level 99. I thought that the rules looked tight. It looked cool. I like the playing time. I like how there's a tiny amount of deck building. I didn't back it in the end, basically just because I had to draw the lines. And I definitely couldn't back it without getting the Sakura Arms complete, which is $89, which is pretty expensive. But I still think, like, even at the $29 level, like, that's still a cool product. I think,
yeah, it's not expensive.
I think that if and also, like, I'm just not a big fan of fighting games in general, and I've got like a woefully underplayed copy of Devastation of Indines, which is another level 99 fighting game, completely different to this. I actually think I'd like this better than the Devastation of Indines. You know, this was a case where I actually managed to apply my own rules. do I really need another fighting game? Like, no. The shipping is only to certain countries, which I actually didn't grok last time. I don't know if that would have. I don't know if this is actually available. But in any case, if I didn't have a fighting game, or if I was into that, I would absolutely have backed this. No, you can get it in Europe. Shipping's not cheap. I guess because it's a whole bunch of heavy cards.
Well, the game's quite cheap, so that's always a bitter pill to swallow.
Anyway, and level 99 games are generally, I think, pretty good if you kind of stuff they do, which is say games that are relatively complex. This one looks like it's on the simpler end of their scales. It's modern. And it's head-to-head 2-player, so, you know, good lockdown title.
Yes, very much.
I've run out of the stuff we talked about last time, Chris, so I'm just going to move on to this one in stuff we missed.
Yes, you're right, but you might notice one. Oh, yeah, you're moving on to stuff we missed. Okay, yes,
There's
perfect.
Only one
Yeah,
title here.
Well, this is the one.
Oh, this is the one. Oh, this is going to be interesting, actually, I think, for us to talk about here. I'm very interested to hear what you have to say about this. Let me just bring up the... Get that link. Townsfolk Tussle! So we didn't talk about this last time, and it's come and gone while we were between sessions. Sounds like you backed it, Chris. What can you say about it?
Oh no! I thought we were moving on to something else.
Oh, okay.
Because there's another. Oh, I see the section we're in. But there's another one that's come and gone since we last did our video. You have forgotten.
It's not number 4 on our list, is it?
It is.
Right. Yeah. So we'll be getting to that when.
No, I know we will.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. There's actually one in our currently live on Kickstarter list that's not currently live, but because you can still get involved in the pledge manager and basically have access to the full Kickstarter campaign, we left it in there. So Townsfolk Tussle is a sort of boss battling skirmish game. I looked into it, and it looks a lot like. So you've got like little heroes that sort of like level up and get equipment, and the whole aesthetic is very like cartoony. It looks a lot like everyone likens it to Cuphead, and I can't help.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah,
dude, I cannot help but make the same comparison because it's so spot on. But it really reminds me of these like old Disney cartoons as well. You know, like the old Mickey Mouse ones on TV, things like that.
Yeah.
But the gameplay itself is sort of like boss battling. You set up these sort of skirmish arenas. Then you've got these heroes that come at the boss, and there's a sort of escalation of enemies, and they all have unique behavior decks, and you level up your heroes and grab equipment, and then you do the whole thing in one sitting, right? It's not like a campaign game.
Oh, this looks fun.
There you've got all these different bosses down here as well.
I would have backed this. I didn't know about this one.
So I totally backed this.
Not surprised. It looks cool.
I was like, oh, this looks really neat, and I don't have Kingdom Death Monster, and this kind of looks like the best parts of that, but as a cartoon. You know what I mean?
I don't fully understand that comparison. Oh, I guess I understand where it's coming from.
That's because it's like the boss battle, right? Like it looks like because in Kingdom Death you've got the boss, you set up the arena,
showdown, yeah.
It felt like the showdown section of Kingdom Death, just without all the town stuff, right?
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that actually.
I mean, it's a bigger board with a lot more terrain, but yeah,
this looks good. I might have to get you to add a second copy into your pledge manager.
It's not too late to get involved, I think. Yeah. I just found it really really interesting, and I really liked the quirky artwork. I really liked
I love the artwork.
The sort of strange ruffians. They're called ruffians. And
it's just something different, right? Playing that my hero is a weird tentacle man with long hair or something rather than a hero.
You got like Hansy, who's just like a strange chicken with a ton of hands or something.
Yeah.
And like just all of these monsters are just so bizarre.
This looks great, yeah. Where's Norman Fishboy? Oh yeah, Hansy, there he is. Yeah, it looks like a vulture almost.
So these are your heroes here, I think.
Oh my god, it's kind of terrifying, the miniatures. In
Yeah,
a
they're
way.
like for these cartoons, right? They're like strangely like unsettling.
It reminds me of
But
Bendy and the Ink Machine a lot, actually.
oh yeah, yeah, you get that vibe as well for sure. So I just found this really compelling, and I really like the artwork.
Yeah, this is fantastic. Not books. What am I talking about? These cards, you know, Virginia's Shanker, Reliable Rod, all this stuff. It looks like this Mr. Man covers with the font and the fonts and the layout of the layout and the white background with the colorful central image. It looks very much Mr. Man cover. Getting great Roger Hargreaves vibes here.
And the if you look at the back of these cards, actually, the concentric ring really just scream Warner Brothers, don't they? Those classic Warner Brothers cartoons.
Yeah, it's evoking a lot of different nostalgic kind of childish things, but not in I don't mean in a bad way. I mean in a great way.
And it was like it was the
and there's blood.
game.
There's blood pouring down on the box art cover. There's blood pouring down. Like it's so. Oh, this is fantastic. This looks great. This like makes such a good impression. I know nothing about the gameplays. I just mean aesthetically, it makes a fantastic impression.
The pledge was the basic pledge, Brave Local pledge was, I mean, it did have an early bird pledge, but I didn't get that. But it was still $85 for the basic pledge, so it wasn't like outrageously expensive either. You can also get a Dearly Departed Townsfolk pledge, which is
You get yeah, obituary.
I don't know what the Dearly Departed tombstone is. Maybe we can find out.
It's clearly going to be your name and an in-game item or something, or something like that.
It looks like it's a. Oh yeah,
No,
your name will be added to the gravestones inside the box.
is there a late pledge available for this? There doesn't seem to be. What was that?
We can hear the videos playing, and that's like spot on, that music, isn't it?
I started playing the video. It's fantastic.
Did you see this quote from Shut Up and Sit Down?
No, what is it?
Game looks gorgeous, but I'm afraid you're right. We don't do Kickstarter previews.
They obviously sent an email saying, "Hello, we believe you don't do Kickstarter previews, but we wanted to show you this game." And they clearly just replied with that in the email.
A really polite email response, yeah. That's really funny.
And then they just took the quote. I respect it. Oh my god, someone else go back down. Someone else compared to KDM.
Hey, who's that?
I don't know. Okay, scroll down.
I
don't know why I'm watching your feed. I could also scroll down myself. I'm jumping between. No, go further down. It's quite a bit further down. Down with me. Down. No, it was very prominent. It was very prominent. I'll know when I'll see it when I see it.
Oh yeah, look, a gateway to KDM right here on Bra Mithra, who I don't know, but there you go. How come Bra Mithra has got a copy of this game and I don't? Listen up, Rachel, Tony, and Steven. Feel free to reach out to me and send me a copy of this game. I've already backed it.
It's on Tabletop Sim as well.
Entirely Kickstarter exclusive. Where does it say that? Kickstarter exclusive. Why is that? We want it to be top tier. Oh.
Why is this? We're gonna give you a bunch of lies as to why this could never go to retail.
Well, then I guess find a friend who backed it and ask them very nicely to get you a copy. Having said that, do you know what else was Kickstarter exclusive? Gloomhaven.
Yeah, we're quite.
That was never going to go to retail because it just wouldn't function in a retail model. And now look.
Although in fairness, like, I mean, with Gloomhaven, at least I can kind of see where he was coming from.
Thanks for watching, Victor. Have a wonderful evening or afternoon. And
See you
I'll
later,
catch
mate.
up with you later. Okay, so that's Townsfolk Tussle, and with that, we're moving into the currently live on Kickstarter section, starting with a game that's going to be introduced by Chris.
Even Mike has actually also played this.
I've played.
Sort of.
I've played a version of this.
Yes, I'm the same. So this is Escape the Dark Sector. This is actually its at least second time on Kickstarter. Maybe it's third.
Yeah, this is, I think, Escape the Dark Sector's second time. It's the fourth
Right.
Kickstarter from Themeborn, who are a company exclusively making Escape the Dark games, and they've got two: Escape the Dark Castle and Escape the Dark Sector. This is Escape the Dark Castle, isn't it?
It is. So Escape the Dark Castle, I went, I think, pretty much all in on its second Kickstarter. So I have all the content for it. I didn't get, like, as I tend not to. I didn't get things like the non-gameplay stuff, but I've gameplay all in. I've played it a fair amount. It is freaking hard. Basically, this is it's essentially a narrative, choose your own adventure style game with very, very light gameplay combat elements. Essentially, you have 15. You randomly select 15 cards, shuffle them all up, put them face down, either randomly or deliberately choose a boss, and put it at the bottom. And you basically just draw the cards one at a time. And some of the cards would be good, some would be bad, some would be very bad, some will be made good and bad. And this is just a sci-fi version of it. In the version I've played, I've looked it through this. I can't see anything different apart from the theme. It's just essentially it's more of the same. And I'm more of a fantasy person than a sci-fi person, so I therefore actually won't be back in this. But I do recommend the series. I actually like it quite a lot. The only gameplay element, you choose a character at the start, and the character comes with a die. And basically there's three skills. There's like cunning, wit, and strength, I think, or something like that. And basically you've different strengths in each character has different strengths in each attribute. So if you're a very strong character, three of the faces of your die will be strength, and one of them will be cunning, and two of them will be wit or something. And that's kind of and then basically you're taking skill checks to defeat opponents, to climb over a wall, to do all these things. But a lot of the cards just come down to choices. Do you trust the person who's offering to give you a potion, or do you tell them to go away? How much game there is, very debatable. How much skill there is involved in winning, pretty debatable. But it's a lot of fun, and it's really short. Like I think every time I've ever played this, we've played it more than once. Did we play this week? You played this didn't we, Mike?
Yeah, so when we were at Essen last time, would have been Essen 2019, Richard, our friend Richard, bought all in on this, and he on Escape the Dark Castle. We played it with 4?
Yeah, 4.
And we had an absolute blast. I mean, we died horribly on the boss, but
and you pick up items and stuff, and there's some decision making on who takes the items, and some things can combo nicely together. And because you have to, I think if any of you die, you lose, don't you? So you have to make sure everyone stays healthy. I think we possibly only played it once that time then, but with the exception of that time when we were trying to fit loads of games in every evening after Essen, I've always played this 2 or 3 times when we played it. Because it's really, really quick and simple, and it really scratches that adventure itch. It's like a point and click adventure. It's like almost like a text adventure, It's just gives me, which is very nostalgic for me. And now the thing is, if you want to go all in on this, it is £100. And the difference between the £100 pledge and the £45 pledge is the £45 pledge is just the expansions, isn't it? I think it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Actually, can you pledge just for... You can. You don't seem to be able to pledge just for the core game, can you? No. I had not noticed that.
Oh,
So
that
just...
is interesting.
But, however, I've just looked it up. So you can get, for £25, you can get the base game from various online retailers.
Okay, so the idea is essentially that So has this not had
So
a
so
big collector's edition like this before then, Dark Sector?
no, this is very exactly the same thing they did on Dark Castle, and this is the one I backed where they've introduced this. They introduced a couple of new expansions and a collector's box to fit everything in, which does work. I have the collector's box for the other one, and it is good, and it does fit everything in nicely. And you get all the promos and stuff as well, just like some new items and such. But so the difference between £25 for the base game and £95 for the all-in is literally just the expansions, which might add I think they might add a new mechanic here or there, like in the Dark Castle added Plague, for example, which is a new thing to contend with. But for the most part, it's just more cards. Like if you're unless you obviously don't need them. I mean, I've got so many cards. Like every time we're playing, we play it. We're taking 15 cards from the base game and 3 expansions. It's so many cards. You'll never have the same thing twice, pretty much. But you really don't need that. So unless you're already a fan, I'd find it hard to recommend someone doing what I did. Even though I don't regret it, I'd find it hard to recommend someone doesn't have the core game, just saying, "Oh yeah, go pay £100 for all this stuff." I'd almost say just get the base game at your local retailer, and you can pick up the expansions later if you like it. The only advantage to Kickstarter is a couple of little cards. I think you get a couple of small exclusives.
Are there any Kickstarter exclusives here? I noticed this medical record. I don't remember the medical record from Dark Castle. Is that in your
Yeah, I saw that as well, but I think it's just health.
Okay, so it's just a health tracker.
I think it's just health tracker, or it might include something like the plague mechanic. But there's nothing particularly deep. Like don't.
Eddie says he loves these games and he got them and they're fun to play solo. And here,
I agree, Eddie. They are very fun to play. The only reason this is meant to the purpose of this video is kind of to give people pause to consider what they're backing, what they're spending money on, and if you don't know you like this already, I think I can highly recommend £25 to jump in and give these games a whirl. I don't know if I would.
A good idea might be, if you're intrigued in this, is to back the Distant Star for £1 or more, get access to the pledge manager, then pick up the core set, because that doesn't come with half the pledge anyway. Give it a shot, give it a whirl, and then you've got a bit of time to get those expansion sets if you like it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to back this solely because I have Dark Castle. I have all the content for it. I've only seen probably 15% of the cards in my in the collector's box, and I prefer fantasy to sci-fi. So if I had both, I'll always choose to play the fantasy one.
I don't have either. I would love to play this. I really like this kind of sort of crazy sci-fi stuff. This art of the guy with all the microchips on his brain, that's really fun. I would be tempted to.
I'm a big fan of the art style, personally. Yeah, and if you enjoyed that play we had, S and Mike, then yeah, go for it, man, 100%. Because
this is definitely
then we have both.
What I would describe as a beer and pretzels game. This is the kind of thing where everyone's having a drink and you're hanging out and you're just kind of like, oh, what's gonna happen, and then everyone celebrates or face palms together.
That's exactly how we played it, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And everyone can play it. Like all skill levels can play this.
Yeah. It's 100%, just sort of.
And it even has that moment of, oh my god, why do we pick you to do this? You're the worst at cunning. And then you roll the cunning check, and you're like, yes. It has those moments. I'm just reading.
Is coloring in the edges of his board with a black Sharpie.
So I never got confidence. Yogi, are you actually cutting it up? Like, that's genuinely what's happening right now.
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen, some people have been doing it online.
I haven't. I mean, I've only I opened the Etherfields box and just had a look at the board, but I didn't really.
Well, it's because it's vertical, right, rather than horizontal, and that's what people are annoyed with.
Are you able to put pictures up in this? Because I want to see Yogi.
Email me some pictures. AskReadySteadyPlay@gmail.com. Okay, here we go. Next thing. It's Bardsung. 5 days to go. This is the new Kickstarter from Steamforged Games. You'll know who Steamforged Games are because they did. They did Resident Evil. They did the Dark Souls board game. They did Horizon Zero Dawn. I'm sure they've done well. We can actually have
Did they do Devil May Cry as well, or was that someone else?
8 created. What have we got here? Resident Evil 3, the board game. They did Devil May Cry. Apparently, they did miniatures for Critical Role. They did God Tier, which is some kind of skirmish game that I did have a look at, actually. It's interesting. I didn't know that they did God Tier.
They also did. They also did. They're not Guild Wars. Guild Ball. Yeah, Guild Ball. Isn't that them?
They did Guild Ball? Yeah, they did do Guild Ball. And that's because Bardsung is designed by... oh, by the way, just very quickly, Escape the Dark Sector is designed by Alex Crispin, Thomas Pike, and James Sheldon, the 3 people who did Escape the Dark Castle, and that is their only credit that I'm aware of. Not that that's a bad thing.
But they do it well. They do that stuff well.
What they've done well. There we go.
Yeah, and this is the same type of thing, so they'll definitely be competent at it.
So Bardsung is Steamforged Games, and it's designed by Matt Hart and Sherwin Matthews. Matt Hart is Dark Souls, Resident Evil 2, and Guild Ball, and Sherwin Matthews is Resident Evil 2, the board game, and Horizon Zero Dawn. So they've taken basically 2 designers from their collective projects, and they've teamed them up to do this, which is a dungeon crawler set in a fantasy world, where you're and the way they've kind of built it actually is that it's 1 to 5 players. It's got a solo mode. You can play it either as standalone dungeon crawly adventures, or you can link them together to make an ongoing narrative with a sort of a light campaign element. It's procedurally generated, so it's sort of channeling these old roguelike games where you kind of go through these dungeons, you're not quite sure what to expect. So there's this element of turning over, I'm looking for the pictures now, turning over the tiles, and then you can kind of orient them in a way that will suit you, and then you turn over another deck of cards, which I think are called aspect cards or something like that, which will add some random effect to the tile and sort of randomly create something going on there. There's your epic narrative campaign picture. It's just scenarios that are set by arrows, but this, yeah, so you'll get tile cards like this. It'll tell you which tile to take, and then you can choose the way you want to orient it, and you have to kind of, there's a sort of a light strategic decision to this. And then you'll flip over another card. There's like, so you'll get like, it says here, an aspect card, right? This is environmental challenges. The one they've used here in this little GIF is a safe haven, which means there's not much going on here. Yogi Bear, the dice. Yes, we'll come to that.
Yes, that's in. Yeah, I'm very interested. I'm very interested you didn't back it because of the dice.
Enemy behavior cards as well, where there's sort of simple AI mechanisms for these enemies to behave. Combat events. I didn't really get into the combat events, but each character class sort of has different things that they can do that they're good at. And I don't actually know if this is directly relevant to the combat events, but there are these things called fate tokens, where if you kind of perform your role well, you'll unlock fate tokens, which are good for things. The marching order is an initiative system that I thought was really interesting, and my knee-jerk reaction was I hate this, but we'll see in time. So basically what happens in combat, you get a card that represents each hero and each villain, and you shuffle these cards together and lay them out randomly, and that's the marching order for each round. Then each thing goes in that order, so it's completely randomized. But then each character, hero character, and possibly villains too in their behaviors, I don't know, but will have things that will affect the marching order, right? So for example, the paladin has an ability where you don't shuffle him in, you just leave him in the same spot every time. The wizard has a haste spell that puts him or someone else, him or her or whoever, puts the wizard to the front of the queue, or someone else that casts the spell onto the front of the queue. There's a sort of a quick reactions ability that moves you 1 space to the left so you activate a bit sooner. Things like that sort of influence the marching order. So it's obviously not completely randomized, and based on how you level your character up and build your character out, you'll have access to these different abilities that influence it. Here's the fate power. So you can gain fate by doing things that correspond to your class, which then you can use those fate tokens to powerful ability. I don't know about these wandering monsters. I didn't get to this part. I did start going through their gameplay articles, but I found the articles a little bit curious, because I was over here. Where was it? There was one article in particular I wanted to show you guys. Yeah, so I found the actual verbiage in these articles extremely light, and I was reading through them, and then it dumped this section here on me. It was like a trapdoor opens underfoot. A hero makes a T and 12 green cog action roll. If they pass, discard this card. And I couldn't find anywhere what the hell that means. You know? And I was just like, what is Tn12? You know, what is this symbol? And maybe it's in one of the other articles, but I just felt like they're explaining all these examples here. Um, and for this example, it just says, are resolved instantly. For example, a dexterity test to avoid an unexpected flying dart or leap away from a pit that opens underfoot. Well, that makes it sound really exciting, but when I read this card, it doesn't feel exciting, and I also don't know how to resolve it. And I wish they'd linked to the article that explains how you resolve this card. Yeah, Yogi Bear, I'm sure it is referring to a die roll, and it's probably referring to my character stats as well. So, but I'm making assumptions here from the genre of the game, which is dungeon crawler. So I assume that all my heroes have stats, and we do tests with those stats by rolling dice. Yeah, maybe it is a D12, and but anyway, the point is I couldn't find the information that I wanted to find to discern what these cards do, and it's curious to me because that either means they haven't. Well, there are live playthroughs on the internet, so you can go and see the play live, and I haven't watched them. I guess maybe they're just hoping that that will fill in the blank. It just seemed really curious to write all these design briefs and even put dice in the pictures here and not explain how that dice combat worked or even link to it in the areas that were relevant. But basically, I guess what my overall sort of takeaway from this campaign was, I've got so many dungeon crawlers already. Where's the unique thing that makes me need this one?
It seems like Darkest Dungeon from last month all over again.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, Chris. I was like, okay, so this looks like Darkest Dungeon all over again. I'm like, look at this dice set, right? Like, that's fine, but explain to me why this is good. And also, like, the first thing I want to know is how do I resolve, things. Like, there's a lot I like here. When I started looking at this initially, I actually had a very positive reaction. I was like, I like the idea of a roguelike. I was actually a little disappointed that
Is it roguelike?
That's what they describe it as, yeah.
Oh.
So the idea, I actually liked the idea of this as a roguelike because as a one-off thing. I actually was a little disappointed to discover they had this overarching narrative campaign because I really don't need more of that. What I like the idea of a dungeon. I actually, it's so funny. I have more dungeon crawlers now that seem focused on overarching narrative campaigns than I do that are just sort of like fun to do in a single sitting.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of dungeon crawlers. It's a really competitive genre. Do I really need more of them? Absolutely not. That's, I think, more true of dungeon crawlers than almost anything else, right? And within that genre, actually, games that can be played quick and are fun and sort of quick to get to the table are more appealing to me now than ones with huge overarching narratives that take sessions to play through. So when I started looking at this and it was like, this is a roguelike and you can play it in a one-off sitting and it takes 45 to 90 minutes and it's a procedurally generated dungeon, I was like, this sounds super interesting. I'm really intrigued in that. That sounds cool. But then the more I looked into it, and then they were like, then there's also an overarching narrative if you want. I was like, oh, geez, well, that might still be fine, you know. And I like this bird person and the turtle person, by the way. They're really cool. But so the I like the idea that the as you explore the dungeon, you reveal these cards that procedurally generate it. So you got the deck that randomly seeds the tiles. You got the cards that randomly determine what happens on those tiles, what kind of tiles they are. You've got these monsters that are wandering around the dungeon that just kind of appear out of nowhere. And actually, when the monsters appear, you also draw like not just behavior cards for them, but also like sort of trait cards that give them randomized traits. So it's kind of all of this sort of like, it's got that roguelike element of all this random stuff. And, then it talks about having a hidden aspects box where basically as you make decisions, if you're playing the narrative campaign and a sort of a story card comes up that you have to resolve, the story card might add cards into the decks from a hidden box for future narrative plays, which is fine. Like, I think if you're into that, then that's cool. But what I found, and you've got these quick start hero builds where essentially the game is like, here is, the fastest way to just start playing this character, and then you can follow a recommended sort of leveling arc. So if you don't want to spend too much time thinking about like min-maxing your character, you can just sort of follow their recommended path, or you can do your own thing completely and really customize it. Allegedly, I don't know how much customization there is there, but I presume there's a fair amount. It can't be less than Massive Darkness. But the thing is, I couldn't find rules on how they resolve combat. And when I looked at that trap card, it was just like, it was all iconography, and it really made me think of Mythic, actually, although this is Steamforged. And when I think about Dark Souls and Resident Evil 2, the games I've played in the catalog of the designers, I kind of think like those were games that I thought were pretty cool, but not like that, but that had serious flaws, and this kind of feels a bit like the more, like I said, the more I looked into it, the more I found there was they didn't answer the questions I really wanted answered, and they had a lot of sort of really flowery text describing their design process, but they didn't get into the nitty gritty of how things are resolved and why they made the decisions they made. Because they didn't even really outline the decisions they'd made. They're like, oh, this is, So I don't know. I got really excited, and then I got cold feet really quickly. That's kind of my takeaway on Bardsung, really. Ultimately, I don't think I'm going to get involved because I don't know. Also, like D20s, I don't have any board games that use D20s to resolve anything, and there's got to be a reason for that.
I think no, it doesn't. Oh, it has D10s actually. Yeah, well, I have a theory that they put in that picture of all the different, the D3s and the D20s and the D8s just to make the uninitiated go, oh, this is a proper board game.
It's like Dungeons and Dragons.
I genuinely think it's to make people think the uninitiated, make the uninitiated think it's proper.
That's kind of my point, right? Like D&D obviously uses D20s famously, and that's fine, but that's not a board game. That's a collaborative narrative experience. I would never think. I mean, I know some people play D&D a lot like it's a board game. Like when I like, and I think that's sort of the very nature of D&D is that it's super duper flexible because, you can have a D&D experience that's very very narrative driven. That's the kind of experience I usually have when I used to play D&D. We never used miniatures. We never used boards or terrain or anything like that. Whereas other people who play D&D have all of that stuff and don't want to play without it, and they'll have a grid that they'll draw and everything, or they'll have the terrain, and there's a lot of companies that make those things that you can buy, like roll-out mats and all that kind of stuff, and that's absolutely fine if that's how you want to play D&D. But I never played D&D that way, and I think that anyway.
I haven't looked through this game, but I think Yogi actually has kind of hit the nail on the head for me as well here. I'm ready to back an exciting new dungeon crawler. I love dungeon crawlers. But like he said, Yogi says if someone's bringing dungeon crawler to Kickstarter, it has to have some reason to back it. Plenty of amazing dungeon crawlers already exist. And that's just it. This just looks like this just doesn't stand out at all. And also, I don't like Steamforged, so I mean, it's an automatic non-back because it looks like a relatively generic dungeon crawler, a bit like Darkest Dungeon. And then on top of that, I don't trust Steamforged. They have made bad games lately. I've never played something actually by them that I think was particularly well designed.
Yeah, I've not had there's not a Steamforged game. In fact, I sold Resident Evil 2. I'm probably going to sell my Dark Souls as well, which I've kept around much longer than it really deserves. So
you've been weirdly positive about it recently because you enjoyed your stream of it.
Yeah, but I think I mean, interestingly, I when I did it live on the stream, I played at the recommendation of my expert in chat, who all about that game. A character who was like sort of very defensive, rather than my normal sort of character who's all about the dodge rolls. And I found it a lot less appealing in that way. It felt much more like a sort of a hit point management game than sort of dice chucking excitement, sort of dynamic movement game I was used to. And I found it less appealing. I would like to do one more live stream where I actually take on the Mega Boss, which is basically the only reason I haven't sold it yet.
Yeah, I'd like to see you do that, actually.
So I thought I'd sort of, because I feel like after my 10-hour Dark Souls live stream, I'd pretty much exhausted myself. So I thought I'd set up again and give myself another try at the final boss, and then maybe go on.
Artorias, wasn't it?
Yeah, Artorias, exactly. I mean, I once again and that's the thing as well. Like, it was only with the hand holding of the expert player I had in chat that I was able to sort of get all the rules for that correct, and that's a lack of decent player aids, a lack of a well-written rule book in that set, which is the same.
Well, you're not even playing with their rules. You weren't.
I'm using the extended fan-made set as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is an attempt to sort of make it better.
Yeah,
and I think they do improve it somewhat.
Yeah, I think they do. I have tried them.
But anyway, I think so. This one's a pass for me.
Yeah. Join us next month for Kickstarter Kommentary December, when Mike will reveal he backed it.
All right.
But yeah.
Next one is a one coming from Chris.
Yep. So this is Pursuit of Happiness. I need to get it myself if I can. Hang on. I'm bad at typing under pressure, apparently. Read the title. Read the title while I'm getting it up, please.
This is Pursuit of Happiness, the Big Box and Nostalgia Expansion. This is designed by Adrian Abella, who has only designed this game, and David Chirkop, Pursuit of Happiness, Petrichor, and Then We Held Hands. By the way, sorry if that sounded derogatory. I didn't mean to. Adrian Abella, who's designed this game, this is the only one he's designed so far.
It's the only one designed so far, and it's a good game that he's designed. I have Pursuit of Happiness and all the expansions thus far. I will be backing this. It has 13 days to go, by the way. I will be backing this for all the new stuff. I'll get the Nostalgia expansion. I'm going to get the Collector's Box because I do actually. You know what? I have all of the stuff so far in my base game box, but it's really bloated. It's like, when the box lid won't go on properly. So a Collector's Box would be super useful. Pursuit of Happiness is a worker placement, as I say, a highly thematic worker placement game. It's a worker placement game where basically the goal is to live the best life you can live, and long-term happiness, or victory point stars, as Richard insists on calling them to annoy me by breaking me out of the theme, is the goal. Long-term happiness is the goal. That's how you win the game. The victory points are long-term happiness. So there's basically you get a job to get money. You can start relationships. You can take on projects like learning an instrument, or I don't know, joining a band with friends. You can purchase items to bring you happiness, such as a board game collection or works of art. And you're basically just managing your time and money to get as many victory points as you possibly can. But the theme of this is what makes it so appealing for me, because it is ultimately just a worker placement game. But I don't know about you, I find the what's the word, fantasy fulfillment of I remember Deborah played the game of this where she became a lecturer and retired at the age of I don't know, she retired in like the second or third round of the game. So because that's the point, that you live how many is it, 6 or 7 rounds, but then depending on your stress you might actually die sooner or die later in the game, so you can actually get entire additional rounds that no one else gets. That could have the negative of the game is going on for longer when you're already out of it, but it's literally only it'll only take 10 minutes. It's because by then almost everyone's dead. And you can win without living longer. You can obviously live a much shorter but yet much more fulfilled life. And there's this whole stress mechanic where if you do the same thing too often, too much of the same thing, you become stressed. Or if you try and have more than one romantic relationship at the same time, you become too stressed. If you try to have too many ongoing projects, you become too stressed. But there's this lovely balancing mechanic of it can be worth it to take on to take on the additional stress of projects. And risk your and lower your short-term happiness and increase your stress and potentially decrease your life expectancy to have a more fulfilling life. And that's both mechanically interesting because it creates this as I said, this give and take, this balancing mechanism, and it's also quite thematically quite appropriate as well. And I am a huge fan of this game. I've only actually played it a handful of times, to be quite honest, but I really, really like it.
I have a quick question. If you
yes,
interrupting you. You said it's a worker placement game. Can I unlock additional workers?
Yes, there is a way of unlocking additional workers.
Is that the optimal strategy?
No, because I'm pretty sure. I'm just trying to cast my mind back now to make sure I don't say something completely wrong. But I am pretty sure you get additional workers automatically as the game increases. The game continues, and you can't get workers that other people don't get.
Right, so you can't unlock them early, and it's not a decision point. Just awarded them.
No, the way. So okay, yes, that is the case. The thing that you would no, the equivalent that I think that you would be referring to is you can, as I said, you can live longer because you're healthier and less stressed, and therefore get an entire turn worth of 6 actions that I don't get, and that is not the optimal strategy. That is not a be all end all strategy. Absolutely not. The last time I played this was with Richard and his partner and Deborah. And Richard invested completely in living longer, and ended up getting a whole turn of extra where he basically couldn't really do anything that was useful to him. And Deborah ends up winning with her retiring at 30. Because that's the thing, your items you just buy, and they give you rewards and benefits, etc. Projects you work on and jobs you work on, so you can promote. You can like if you're learning to play an instrument, the first level might be took a lesson. The second level is I don't know, played a song. The third level is gave a concert or something, and you have to do them sequentially and in order. And the same thing with the jobs and the relationships. You have to you might have a date, move in together, get married, and you might have the job. You get promoted at your job, and then when you get promoted, you have to spend more time. So that's another thing, right? If you have a job that gets you lots of money, there's a good chance it takes up more time. So of your 6 workers, which are all time hourglasses, you actually have to dedicate, let's say, 2 of those to your job just to keep your job. So you have fewer actions, but more resources to use with those actions potentially. And then the other resources are things like creativity, influence, and not intelligence, knowledge. Yeah. So you might have a job that gets you gets you lots of money and gets you lots of influence, but then you're having to spend half of your actions every turn just holding down that job, and it might also be stressful.
Yogi Bear says, this game sounds too realistic. I find this theme immensely amusing. I really hope that it's as funny in real life as I picture it in my head. It is very funny. There's, there's nothing in it that's designed to be particularly funny, but you get these very amusing emergent moments. That's exactly what I'm hoping for. Yeah. Yeah. Such as like the example I kept using, Deborah retiring at 30. That's what she kept just saying, because then she was getting a smaller income, but didn't have to invest any time in it, and it was brilliant. Like she just basically the first 2 turns, all she did was focused on getting through that job process, and Richard basically focused on healthy living to the point that he never did anything, and just. That's really funny. Yeah, I really enjoy it. I think it's very thematic.
It's a very competent worker placement game. In my opinion, I've only played it. I'll tell you how many times I played it actually, so I give an honest answer.
Well, while you're doing that, I'll just mention that I'm just looking through Artipia Games' catalog here. They've kickstarted a lot of games. I've only ever backed one of their games, which was Kitchen Rush, which I subsequently sold, but I thought was quite interesting.
Oh yes.
Just wasn't. I couldn't play it with my partner because she was working in a restaurant, so it just wasn't getting to the table, and I was like. But it was delivered on time, and I had no problems with the delivery, so at least that was good. I do notice they've got something tucked away here. Their second ever Kickstarter, Lap Dance, which looks really raunchy. I'm like, what is this? Oh my god! I do like the superhero, and but can we get this as an expansion for Pursuit of Happiness?
That'd be awesome. Well, I was about to say, Pursuit of Happiness does have. I didn't touch the expansions.
I was going to ask you about those actually. Oh, my entire internet just broke.
So,
cool.
Are we still streaming?
Yeah, we're fine.
Okay. The first one was Experience, I think, and it was basically. I've only played with the expansions once, I think. Experiences was basically. I can't remember what made it stand out, mechanically speaking, but essentially it added a bunch of new cards and this subcategory of experiences, which was basically just trying to life experiences like go parachuting or something. I can't remember how it was mechanically different at all, so probably best it either wasn't or it didn't stand out in my memory.
So there's Out of This World, a mini expansion with a sci-fi theme. Thug Life. Mini expansion.
No, they're the mini expansions. They're the mini expansions. These are the big boxes of the experience and community. Community introduced this concept of you're standing in the community. It's a whole other resource to use, and if you keep that resource up high, it gives you certain benefits. But you can also spend it. So reset. You can reset it to benefit you to offer you additional resources and that kind of thing. And also add a bunch of extra cards. Thug Life I haven't played with yet. But I've looked through the cards for it, and it's basically doing illegal stuff, having illegal career, being a career criminal, and that kind of stuff. It's very funny.
That sounds really funny. I like the idea that your best life can just be breaking the law.
Yeah.
And being oh god, what's his name?
Tony Montana.
I was going to say Tony Montana, but I was actually thinking of Tony Soprano.
Organized crime's not a theme I'm a fan of, as I've said many times. But in this game, it's fine. It's just funny because the artwork's so goofy and it's just silly.
If I go all in on this, can I throw everything into one game and play with it all at the same time, or is that too much?
Thus far, yes. I don't know if obviously I don't know. I haven't played the new expansions, but yeah, you can. There's no reason not to. I don't think it's too much personally. I think it might be too much first play, maybe.
Well, I had that problem with the Munchkin Dungeon from Simon, where I actually liked the core set a surprising amount.
Munchkin Dungeon.
I added a single expansion. That was fine. I added 2, and I was like, okay, now I can't find any of the cards I need from sets.
I have played this with the base game and the first 2 proper big expansions, and it was fine. And also, and with promo stuff, the Kickstarter promo, and all the Kickstarter promos like pets and stuff, which is super fun. The pets, it's so sweet. It's like, what is it? They bring, I can't remember, but it was the way that the pets worked was that they bring you short-term happiness, obviously while they're alive, and when they've passed away, they give you, I think it was like they give you like short-term sadness, but they keep generating long-term happiness even after they've passed away because of the memory of them, kind of thing. It was. Really sweet. I can't remember exactly what I wish I could remember, but I just remember being very impressed with the balance mechanically and thematically of how a pet affects you after while they're alive and after they've gone. So, I thought it was really nice.
If I was going to get involved in this at this stage, Chris, I can see there's a $40 pledge, but that's only including the collector's edition box, the new expansion, and all stretch goals from this campaign. If I want to get the actual game, I would actually need to go for the Pursuit of Happy. Or does the big box come with the actual game in it?
I don't think. I'm just looking here. I don't. Which one? Sorry, which one are you looking at? Big Box Deluxe. Is that what you're looking
I'm
at?
just looking at the pledge levels here, and it looks like actually none of them include the core game until you get to the all-in pledge, which is $130. So it's not cheap. That's about £100.
And it's
Then if you
150 if you want the deluxe components.
Yeah, if you want everything, you're looking at £113. That gets you all of the stuff from all of the campaigns, plus the deluxe components. So, what do you think about those prices? Is it worth it? Where should I get involved? I could probably get the big box pledge and then just add the core set in the pledge manager, but I don't know how much that would be.
You probably can. So I mean, this is obviously for me. Obviously, it's an easy back. $40 for an expansion, and a organizing box that I genuinely would quite find useful. £103 all in. Is it 103, 113, 113, wasn't it? Is that with the deluxe components?
Yeah, that's everything.
How much is it? It's 100. It's 98 without the deluxe components. The thing is, I think yes, I'd recommend it. It's worth it for insofar as, let's say, forget the deluxe components for a minute. So you're paying 20 quid. You're paying 15 quid for deluxe components. You can either, that's up to you if you want to deluxify for 15 extra quid or not. £98 for a core game, three expansions and several mini expansions and some promos. That's worth it. Like on the average market value, should we say? How much? What game this size as well? I expect to pay £40 for that core game in a shop, maybe 50, and I expect to pay 20, 25, maybe 30. I want to pay 40 and 20 for each, which would be 20, 20, 20, and 40 is £100, and then you get the mini expansions and promos. And I think the game at retail would probably actually be 50. I would want it to be 40. So yeah, value-wise, completely recommend. Would I recommend going all in now, having never played the game? No, I don't think so. I never recommend that. I do it myself anyway, but I don't recommend that.
Hypocrisy is fundamental of human right.
Would I recommend it for you, knowing your tastes, Mike? Yes, although I know you won't play it that much because you've too many games. But yes, I think you'll enjoy it.
I think I will probably wind up backing it. It looks extremely pleasing, and honestly,
doesn't it?
I just love the big box, man. Like, I'm a sucker for big boxes. Anything that sort of helps me get everything in one place and get it set up quickly. And I like the idea of combining everything, so I can be an astronaut, or I can be a mafioso, or a lecturer, or whatever. I like the idea of the emergent story as well. I'm pretty much sold on it. I'd be very surprised for our next Kickstarter video to roll around, and I haven't.
Yeah, I would also be surprised. I think. Are they going to do Are they doing a playmat as well? Where did I see that?
There's sleeves, Chris.
Oh my god! I have to have the sleeves.
You love sleeving.
I love sleeving. I did sleeve Super Fantasy Brawl because they were included in the pledge level that I went for. So I have them, and they're branded. I might as well do it. I'm not going to use these for another game. Oh, also the deluxe components. I want those. They look really cool. Like the influence, the handshake is the influence, and the book is the knowledge, and the light bulb is creative, and they're just cardboard chits. In the regular game, I definitely want that. Ooh, the Out of This World mini expansion. That's Thug Life is one I already have.
The Out of This World one was the one I mentioned with the sci-fi thing. That was
yeah, and the all the promos and stuff are fun. Like I said, the pets are only in the promos, and I was like, I'd be super bummed to not have the pets expansion.
All right, well there you go. So I feel like this is a pretty solid get involved from us, but there's still 2 weeks for you to decide if you check it out yourself.
Highly recommended.
Right. The next thing is quite a big one, so I actually need to take a quick bio break. So I'm just going to put Chris on Big Face to talk about something. I don't know what.
A quick what break? Oh, bio. I did wonder if you meant biology, but I wasn't sure. Okay, it's the Chris Show. I haven't looked at chat actually for some time. Let me catch up with chat. What have you been saying? This game sounds too realistic. Sounds like Sims the board game. I don't think it's this. No, because the Sims. No, I don't think it's the Sims. I know what you're saying. but retire thirsty to play board games the rest of your days. Organized crime is hard work. And then time for the Chris show. Hi, Chris. Hello. What would I think I promised last time I'd take people through these. I don't know if anyone actually cares about that, but at the end of the day, I'm the guest on the show and I have been left to host, so you kind of get what you get, really. This picture here is from UKGE 2017, I think. And then this one back here is also from the same UKGE, and the one up top is also from UKGE. And then these three are from Bioshock, because I love Bioshock. That didn't fill as much time as I was hoping it would. But oh well. Can we show the cats? The cats aren't here, actually. Skimble! Fitz, do you want to come say hello? They're asleep, I'm afraid. But yeah, the next game upcoming is one that has come and gone in the time since our last video. It is still available, however, on to back late pledge. That's why we've decided to stick it in, and I think it's going to be quite a popular one with all of you, if I know you. I can hear Mike coming back, thankfully, because I'm out of segues. Welcome back, Mike. Oh, actually, Mike, it's been agreed that you're off now? Yeah. I could find some more reputable guests. I think the cats would be more welcome, actually, frankly. Skinball. Skimble. We actually agreed on the names of our... I should have talked about this when Mike was gone. We agreed on the names of our next two cats, which we will hopefully get when we get a bigger place. One of them is already picked, and we've agreed on the second one. We decided to name them after our favourite playwrights, respectively. So I'm going to name my next cat. Next one's Pinter Paws, after Harold Pinter, and because a Pinter pause is a term for the long pauses Pinter has in his plays. So I think that's a funny pun. We're going to spell it P-A-W-S. And Deborah's favourite playwright is Tennessee Williams, so we're going to name the second one Tennessee. And I think that's a great name for a cat, Tennessee. So there you go. Oh, Mike, hey, you are back. Sorry, I didn't realize you were back, Michael. I'm so sorry. I was busy talking about cats.
Yogi Bear, just very quickly, actually, I've played a lot of Isle of Cats, and I'm going to talk about it in my upcoming review show that I'm going to make one day.
Sherlock Bones. We have a friend actually whose dog is named Dr. Watson.
Yeah, you named the cat Meowiarty.
You'd get on well, Billy, with our friend. Dr. Watson the cat and Sherlock Bones. Sorry, the dog, and Sherlock Bones the dog.
It looks like Margot's in pursuit of happiness as well.
Yes.
But hey, let's talk about Burn Cycle from Chip Theory Games.
You'll enjoy it, Margot. Yes, Burn Cycle.
So this actually ended yesterday. You can see it was successfully brought to life by 4,000 backers yesterday. But the late pledge is open. You can go to their site and you can, for $5, buy access to the pledge manager if you want to get involved. So I figured we should talk about it because it's super expensive. And Chip Theory Games, they've made 4 games, all designed by Josh and Adam Carlson. Tennessee Whiskers.
Tennessee Whiskers. Actually, you know what? That's a good idea.
I backed and unbacked Burn Cycle like 5 times, says Yogi Bear. Well, so I have not played Hoplomachus, actually. I would like to, but I have not. I have played a lot of Too Many Bones. At least I think I've played a lot of Too Many Bones. Most other people have played a lot more Too Many Bones than I have. At least the people who are really, really into it. But I've played it a lot for me. And I've also played quite a bit of Cloudspire, despite the fact I don't like it. If you want to know more about Cloudspire, you can check out the series on the channel that we did. But Cloudspire was one of those things that was very, very divisive, is very polarizing, because some people absolutely adored it and thought it was Game of the Year work of genius, and other people were brought to tears trying to play it. And so that brings us to Burn Cycle. I think your Cloudspire experience will be directly related to how you played it, because I wanted, from Cloudspire, I wanted a competitive game, and almost everyone I know who says it's good has played the solo campaign. that comes with a solo campaign, a series of scenarios that you can play through with escalating difficulty and challenges that deploy the races in different ways. And there's a campaign for each of the races that comes in the box. If you don't know what Cloudspire is at all, it's essentially a tower defense MOBA game, is the best way I can describe it. But it was, I mean, Chip Theory games are known for these incredibly expensive, very produced products. So, you know, the games are so produced that they can be played underwater, you know, that kind of thing, right? And they typically use laser cut dice and poker chips. I mean, Chip Theory games, all of their games use poker chips. So this is their fourth outing, not their fourth game. They've got other small box games on there. This is their fourth big Kickstarter, right? Um, and so in this game, you are playing as in a future where robot AI has been subjugated by humanity. And humans have organized themselves into essentially giant corporations with CEOs who sort of represent the head of the corporation, and everything is just sort of business taken to a dystopian extreme. Where an AI form the sort of functional slavery in the factories, running around on automated programs, carrying out tasks and things like that. Enter the 404, which are a series of a sort of a small underground rebellion of AIs who've discovered something called the burn cycle, which is a series of programs they can run into their artificial intelligence to act outside the behavior that has been programmed into them by the company. And that's who you're going to play as in the game. You'll be a member of the 404, and what you'll be doing is making your way through the factory run by the corporation, trying to essentially accommodate a series of objectives to further your rebellious cause. And the way this kind of manifests in the game is that you've got I think something like 4 CEOs that represent different companies, and those different companies will they're a lot like so the game is fully co-op. It's 1 to 4 players. It's also got it's got a solo mode, and so I think immediately it bypasses a lot of the issues I had with, say, Cloudspire, where the competitive mode was not at all fun because everybody needed to know the game really, really well to enjoy it. And we actually played it like so many times, we never even get that. Whereas Too Many Bones, we immediately enjoyed from the first play because it was cooperative, and all of the things that made the competitive version of Cloudspire not fun actually melt away when you're working as a team. And that's I think that's a very interesting thing because actually, like, well, I haven't played Hoplomachus, but you know, this again doesn't have a competitive mode. It's entirely cooperative, and so you'll be taking on the role of one of these 404. And if you know Too Many Bones at all, essentially you're a group of adventurers going on a quest to defeat a tyrant, and that tyrant will influence the quest that you go on. In much the same way, in this, you're a group of these 404 robots going up against a CEO, which is really sort of representing the company as a whole. And as you work through the factory, different companies will have different strengths and weaknesses that you'll have to overcome. And based on which of the robots you're playing as, you'll have different strengths and weaknesses as well. So there's all these kinds of different kinds of strategies. Now they did a huge series of videos for this game, which I thought were reasonably well done. Um, so I did watch them all, and I can explain sort of. I'm looking at the. This is actually just looking for some good examples here on the Kickstarter page of the board and things like that. I saw one picture up at the top, but it was very small. Well, I guess we'll have to use it. Where was it? There it is. So you've got your little player boards around the outside here, and then you've got 2 main boards, right? You've got the map. The map is going to be set up based on the CEO that you're playing against, and there are 3 floors in each building. So the floors kind of represent sort of an overall puzzle, and as you escalate through the floors, they're going to get harder and harder, and you're going to have to level up your robots as you go. So by the time you get to the sort of final objective on the 3rd floor, you are capable of taking it on. However, you've also got this threat track, which is on the orange board, just next to the thing that looks like a radar, which is actually the network. I'll talk about that in a minute. But this threat track here is essentially your time limit for the game. And as you take certain actions and are observed by the guards in the factory, the threat will increase. And let me sort of explain really quickly about that, because the factory itself thematically is completely automated, right? You are potentially even, depending on the story, a automated robot from the factory itself. Except that you've developed this connection to the 404th and the ability to employ a burn cycle, these commands that allow you to act outside of your programming. And so you've sort of rebelled against the, the automated element of the factory with the overall mission of overthrowing your human overlords. But what this means is that the guards are not sort of on the lookout for intruders or anything like that. They're actually kind of just robots following their normal programming. And so what you're doing is kind of what's going to trigger them is when they observe you behaving in a way that you shouldn't be behaving in. And then they're going to create alerts. And these alerts are going to build up threat. And as the threat increases, the factory starts to go into sort of alert mode, right? But so you can get away with a certain amount, but it's going to get more and more difficult. So you're always kind of trying to decide whether to move more quickly and beat the escalating threat level to the end, but run the risk of not being sort of leveled up enough to face the final challenge. And so the way the game kind of works is you got all these dice as well, and essentially what you're going to be doing is you're going to be programming a burn cycle, which are these chips on the orange board. You can kind of see them here. I really wish this was here. I don't know if this is going to be easy for those at home, but in any case, you see next to the network there, we've got a space for 5 chips. That's the burn cycle. And each chip represents an action that you can take. And so you're going to program in those actions, but they're not, it's not like a standard programming mechanic where then you have to carry them out and see what happens. And if something fails to trigger, it fails to trigger. Instead, then what you can do is do whatever you want. But if the action you're taking synchronizes with the burn cycle chip that you've put in, you get a bonus to it, right? And what you can put in is also going to be kind of dictated about where you are in the factory. So there's all these kinds of sort of strategic decisions you're making around that. And you can also use these actions to hack the network. So you're actually deciding every time you take an action whether you're going to interact with the map board physically, moving your character around. I don't mean physically like in real life. I mean physically in the theme of the game, right? You're actually moving your robot around the factory. Or you can move your sort of AI through the network, which is this radar thing on the right, which is essentially a sort of a mini puzzle where you have to activate actions to move your peg towards the middle. And getting to the middle is actually an objective that you use to win the game. So it's not just a mini game, but actually a sort of a viable way of trying to win. But you can't just do that. You'll have to do other stuff. And the whole time you're paying for actions and sort of triggering these things with a resource that you've got called power. And you'll get power by you can get power by defeating enemies, but you've always got to juggle whether or not you can defeat an enemy, because if you take on an enemy, you'll raise the threat level. If you defeat an enemy, you'll raise the threat level, but it might be worth it because you'll be rewarded with power, which you can then use to take additional actions or upgrade your robot. So you're always trying to decide whether you want to spend the power you've got to upgrade yourself and make yourself more powerful in the future, or to take actions and move around the board and do more stuff. And as you go through the burn cycle, every time you go through it, you'll lock one of the 5 chips out, and eventually you'll have to reset the burn cycle, which means resetting all 5 chips. And choosing when to do that will be a really strategic decision, because what'll come up will be entirely determined by sort of where your robots are on the board, because each room sort of gives your robots different powers and stuff, because you are sort of intrinsically linked to the factory and the AI and everything that's going on there. And then just to sort of cap this off, I think there's on the orange board there, you can see what looks like a list at the top, and that's a list of unique elements associated with this particular CEO. That's also the CEO chip in the middle of the radar. That's going to change depending on which one of these CEOs you're tackling. So what you can kind of see here is this is very much a chip theory game style thing. It's got a lot of moving parts. It's got a lot of mechanisms. It seems to me infinitely more, I say infinitely, a lot more complex than Too Many Bones. But I am very intrigued by it. What do you think about that, Chris, as someone who is sort of unfamiliar with it?
I think it sounds very chip theory gamesy, as you said. Although having said that, I've never played a chip theory game. I have too many bones. I haven't played it yet. And I watched some of your Cloudspire play and found it tough.
Cloudspire, yeah.
It does see it there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And I don't know. To be honest, I don't know if I don't think I can really make any insightful comments on anything you've just said because I'm still processing it.
That was a huge information dump, and that was kind of the point of it. Because I watched all of these videos that Josh and Adam did, right up until they got to their playthrough, and then I was watching the playthrough and trying to follow it, and it was a challenge. I was like, okay, this is a lot, and I'm still not really sure where, like, sort of the decision. I'm still not really sure I fully understand how to play this.
I'm not I'm not completely certain I know what I'm supposed to do when my turn's like on my turn, like what my moment to moment decision making is.
Mm-hmm. It seems to me that there's a lot of. I mean, it seems that there is a lot of decision making because ultimately, I feel like it comes down to this power resource, and it can let you do so many things like move around and slot, because you're thinking about, what you want to be doing is doing actions that correspond to the action in the burn cycle, and then the actions that you're going to be able to slot into the burn cycle is going to depend which robots you are and where you're positioned on the board. And then if you can't utilize those actions on the board, maybe it's time to utilize them in the network if you can do that. And so there's all these kinds of different decisions that you can make, and there is probably a way to optimize it all as you go through it. I think ultimately what it comes down to is this sort of optimization puzzle. And the real question is whether or not you think you're going to enjoy that, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think I do enjoy programming games. Or at least I have enjoyed the ones I've played this far. I haven't played that many.
Small element because it's not like. I mean, we enjoyed Black Rose Wars.
Yes. Oh, that is programming. I mean, it's funny. I don't think that's a programming game, even though it is.
It's very programming, I think.
Yeah. No, you're right. It is. Although you had that quick spell you could use anytime, which was quite good. I always liked that addition.
Yeah, I mean, I prefer when a programming game sort of offers you some flexibility
and this does that, doesn't it? Because
yeah, it absolutely does. The programming is not actually a necessity; it's just a way of further optimizing your turn. And
so you can completely ignore the namesake essentially, the burn cycle, right?
Well, the burn cycle actually has two kind of functions as well. Remember, because not only is it about optimizing moves at specific times, but it also flips over each element of the burn cycle. So a round is essentially up to sort of 5 opportunities to do things, because every time you run the burn cycle, you flip over one of the tokens and run it again. And it's not until you reset the whole burn cycle that you sort of effectively begin like a new burn cycle, which is gonna change the icon.
Yeah, I mean, it looks. I think I would enjoy it if I got invested in it. But it looks like it has. It asks a lot of you to get invested in it.
Yeah, so that's the main thing about chip theory games. These are the kind of games that you show to people who've only ever played Monopoly or Scrabble to put them off hobby board gaming from.
Yeah.
They would look at this and go, "Why on earth? Why on earth?" And I can totally sympathize with that because, I've had both experiences with chips theory games where I play too many bones and I find this very compelling puzzle and I really like the sort of little story elements and all that kind of stuff. And I played Cloudspire and I was just like, there is no way I'm ever going to have an enjoyable competitive experience with it. Like it's going to be so difficult to engineer that, and by the time we actually do, I don't think we're actually going to be having fun. And I could get a much more accessible experience like that from something else, and that doesn't cost $250. And so Burn Cycle I'm more optimistic about because it's cooperative And so a lot of those criticisms, like I said, have been mitigated by that, but it's still extremely expensive. The base game alone is $115.
Yeah, I don't think I'd registered how that was the base game was that much.
Yeah, if you want to get the gameplay bundle, it's $140.
It's not a lot extra, frankly, but if you've already committed.
And the deluxe bundle is $295, which comes with everything. You know, we're not going to talk about Chip Theory Games' strategist pledges if you don't know about that.
Well, every game that goes by is that's valuable, frankly.
Yeah, so I think it's still so mechanically dense that I'm really still not sure. Like the more I take in, the less I really. But you know, it's funny.
What level did you back it? And what so what level?
It, yeah.
At what level?
I backed it at the highest level. Paid $300. Because I like Too Many Bones so much, and this looks like it. I also know that kind of value is reasonably recoverable because people love games so much. Secondhand market, pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I backed at the £5 level to gain access to the pledge manager, which I didn't bother of because the late pledge is open. But although actually, no, I think you have to gain access to late pledge now. You have to pay £5 now, as I did. So that's basically what I've done. I hadn't realized. I obviously just didn't take in that it was 115 just for the base game. My God, that's eye-watering, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an extreme investment for something that, you know. And if you have Too Many Bones, do you really need it? Is it? I mean, it looks different enough to me, but
yeah, it looks very different. From what I know,
now we know where some of that Patreon money is going to. Well, I mean, I think actually, you know, just to summarize that really quickly, so I think one of the hardest things about being a board game creator is this kind of thing, you know, because I would probably actually put a point on it. I probably wouldn't have backed this if I didn't have the channel. You know, like I covering Cloudspire on the channel was an excruciating task because we hated it. Like I say we hated it. We really didn't like it. But I felt like it was super duper important to do because it's really expensive and a lot of people were already talking about how great it was. And that was contrary to our experience. So I felt like it was really valuable information to put out there. I also made the rules and setup for it because I really wanted to help the people who were trying to get enjoyment out of it or who had bought it and were really into it, get it to the table and play it correctly. And after we'd gone through that process of learning it and all that kind of stuff, I wanted to put that information out there in a valuable way. So, but you know, if I didn't, I would I would definitely have backed Cloudspire on a personal level off the back of Too Many Bones because I liked it so much. But on a personal level, having played Cloudspire, I would be very curious about Burn Cycle. I probably wouldn't back it because I have Too Many Bones. But I've sold my Cloudspire pledge. Like I'm done with that game. Never going back. You know, and Burn Cycle. Yeah, I think.
As Yogi said, you get access to all their other games as well on the pledge manager. For 20 euro or £20 or is shipping, no matter how much stuff you buy.
Well, you know, and once we play Burn Cycle, even if we gave it a negative review, I'd probably still do a setup and rules for it. Well, I say that actually. I've kind of had to be a lot stricter about what I do the setup and rules for now, just because time is limited. You know, I would potentially be interested in doing that as well.
I just want to attention to something that I'm very curious about. Chip 3 Games are known for their chips. Why is there a $75 add-on for miniatures that stand on top of the chips?
Is there?
Yeah, which you've bought, by the way.
Oh, cool.
And you're all in. Isn't that what? I thought their whole thing was they don't do minis.
They've never done minis before.
And the minis are going to stand on top of the chips, which makes it even stupider. Add some dimension to your burn cycle game with these heavy brass avatars of your bots and guards. These magnetized tokens snap a fix to burn cycle's weighted chips, giving you an attractive 3D visual of the game's characters while still allowing you to access all your necessary chip stats. That's ridiculous. That's mental.
Where is it? Oh my god, is this it? No, wait.
Further down, there it is. That's it. That's just insane. Just have the miniatures then. If you want to be a miniature. What do they want to be? Do they want to be a miniatures game or not?
$75. Jeez, who in their right mind?
You just did.
I know this.
I know, yeah. Because I would, if I was to buy if I do end up going for it, I will get the 140 gameplay all in, and maybe add on something else I wanted. But I don't think I need anything. I don't care about playmats. I don't care about drawbags. Deluxe lore recruitment portfolio. Orient yourself in the age of return with these tales from the world of Burn Cycle. I do not need that. An extra dice I don't need for $15. The miniatures is the only thing I might be interested in, but A, they're $75, and B, I think it's ridiculous to have the miniature theory game. So yeah, if I go for it, I'll go $140.
I think that's reasonable. I could not reasonably recommend backing at the level I've backed at. But I'm secretly glad I have these weird miniatures. And also, I'm a sucker for playmats. I would definitely get the playmats.
I just find the art never looks it's never as nice on playmats. I remember making that comment on your Etherfields unboxing that the art on the playmat is much duller and hard to see than it is on the board. And also, because I've invested money in a Geek and Sun table, playmats have no benefit to me. Although I did get some use out of the Super Fantasy Brawl playmat because we played Super Fantasy Brawl on top. I had Jaws of the Lion set up still underneath from one of our plays, and so we played on the playmat on the top of the table. But apart from the very rare occasion where I want to have two games set up at the same time, playmats are worthless to me. Who puts a playmat on bays? The thing is, if you stopped buying playmats, you'd be able to buy a Geek and Sun table.
I don't think so, actually. If you total up the value of all my playmats, and I've got a lot, and I've got some really expensive ones, I probably still couldn't buy a Geek and Sun table.
Maybe not, but you'd be getting there.
I'd be on the way. Well,
plus, it's harder to cut up a playmat.
I don't know. Exactly. It might be easier, actually.
It might be. You could possibly use the scissors.
Depends on the quality of the cardboard, right?
10 playmats. How much are this playmat? Yeah, okay, fine, fair enough. You wouldn't get a Geek and Sun table for it, but I don't know. I'm not a playmat. I'm not a playmat fan. Not a Car Steve guy. I've got the Dennis, the Geek and Sun Dennis Selketh, the 100 centimeter by 150 centimeter one.
In any case, I guess to sort of sum up my opinion of chip theory games, I find them extremely interesting. I've always found them to be interesting and unique. I admire, in many ways, what they attempted to do with Cloudspire. There was a lot in Cloudspire I really, really liked, but it didn't come together in a way that was positive. Anyway, I am interested in Burn Cycle.
Yeah, I'm interested. I think I probably will end up getting the 140, but I'm going to watch those videos that you have watched that I have not watched before I make my...
I mean, honestly, I'd probably recommend attempting Rolling Solo's video or something first. I haven't seen it, but I found Josh Bielgis and Josh Carlson's video be very much videos made.
Not really.
Yeah, they were perfectly fine, but they kind of they kept doing that thing where Josh was... he's the designer, right? And he was sort of explaining the game as a designer explains a game, which is generally not. And then Josh Wielgus would kind of rephrase what he just said in a fun thematic way, you know. And so I did watch them at 1.5 times speed as well because I was just oh.
we're going to use
people have
these
said they
numbers to
watch
make these
me at
other
1.5
numbers bigger.
times speed too. So I think that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Absolutely not. No.
You can always speed me up, but you can't slow me down. That's the thing. Actually, you can, but
Actually, you can.
it sounds really weird though. It's not the intended. Anyway, moving on. Are you ready for this next thing, Chris?
Yes, ready as I'll ever be.
All right, here we go.
Harry Potter, Catch the Snitch. Official Wizarding World. Yeah, it's official Wizarding World product.
Just very quickly, this is put up by. Oh, we can. This is put up by Night Games. If you've not heard of Night Games, they are the Spanish company behind Batman Miniatures game, and the chief designer on this is Gonzo Brios, who also worked on that, and a chap called Jose M. Caballero Delso, who worked on Gunfight at Tombstone, Legends of the Far West, which is the miniatures game that came out in 2007, and I've never. And also a chap called Sergio Garcia Vicente, who only worked on this.
This is their second Kickstarter. Their first Kickstarter being this same game, which was cancelled about a week ago. So they cancelled this on the 6th of November, and I'm not entirely sure why. They said it was to do with some. They said it was because of the electoral campaign in the United States. Their update said estimated backers. I wonder if that was meant to be esteemed backers, but it wasn't. The current situation of uncertainty in the world derived from the electoral campaign in the United States is negatively affecting our Kickstarter. It's generating many technical problems on the web and freezing our communication strategy plan. I don't know. That sounds weird, but regardless, it doesn't really matter. I personally think it's because they had some negative feedback to certain behaviors, practices they were taking, and have taken the opportunity to address. Because I literally saw in the board game Facebook group that we're on, I literally saw someone complaining about this, and then they commented on their own post like 12 minutes later saying, "Oh, it's been cancelled. The project's been cancelled." So, okay, without further ado, this is a basically Quidditch, the board game. It's a miniatures game, sort of. I mean, I wouldn't quite call it a miniatures game insofar as they're not. I guess it is, right? It's not. They're not like super detailed GW miniatures or something like that, but they're also not meeples. They're kind of like. Do you know what I'm saying?
I mean, they're kind of pretty miniature-y to me.
They're quite low quality sculpts, I think.
I think so, because the only other game Night Games has done is a pretty detailed miniatures game. Okay, well maybe it's just the graphical rendering. I'm not super impressed with the quality of the miniatures. Like, personally, I find it quite hard to tell from this Kickstarter page.
They look very small as well. Well, okay, fine. It's a miniatures game. It reminds me a lot of Blood Bowl. I've read the rules for this. For this game, it's essentially Blood Bowl insofar as it's dice based, passing and shooting. The kind of interesting things they've got going on are obviously, for those of you who don't know, I'm assuming everyone knows, but maybe you don't. Quidditch is a sport in the fantasy world of Harry Potter, and it does have defined rules in the fantasy world of the books and the films. This takes most of those rules forward. It does make some interesting changes. The game is in the stories, in the fantasy world. The game is basically played until someone catches the golden snitch, which is worth 150 points, and there are also 3 chasers per team who are trying to score goals. Goals are each worth 10 points. There are also the goalkeeper in each team. There's also 2 beaters per team. The beater's job is to smack these other balls called bludgers into the chasers, and I suppose into the seeker, to distract, disorientate, and damage them and stop them from scoring. So that the beaters existing is kind of interesting. Insofar as it's essentially a dedicated player that only do tackles, I guess, from afar. I was kind of disappointed to see that when you get hit by a bludger, you get stunned, and they have the super interesting and innovative mechanic of you have to spend an action to remove your stun token.
Oh no.
Wow. So the first half of the game is based. So because Quidditch is ultimately a ridiculously designed game, where where the entire game comes down to who catches the snitch and everything else is completely irrelevant. What they've done is they've eliminated points. And instead, the first half of the game is this very Blood Bowl style thing where you're rolling dice to make your passes and stuff. You have actions like there is an element of action selection. So one of the actions you can do is you can move a character, you can do a pass, which then requires a die roll. Take a shot at goal requires a die roll. Beaters only can make beat actions to try and stun people. So every position has different actions available to them. Obviously, everyone has move available to them, and then you're using dice to do most of these things, like in Blood Bowl. It really reminds me of Blood Bowl. Don't know why. Probably because it's a sport. And then you also have a hand of tactical cards, which can modify things. So there's a little bit more going on there. In that sense, you can play cards to modify, amplify actions and stuff like that. But the first half of the game is trying to score goals, and if you score a goal, you get a snitch card, and that reveals a new snitch card, and somewhere in that deck of snitch cards is the golden snitch. When that shows up, we basically stop the chasers scoring goals section of the game completely, and we now play a brand new game, which is the seekers rushing to try and grab the snitch. And so, therefore, whoever scored the most goals has the most snitch cards. And the other person, let's say I have 3, and let's say I have 5 snitch cards, and you have 2 snitch cards. You draw these 2 other, I can't remember what they were called, but basically dummy cards. So you also have 5 cards in hand, 3 of which are actually useful to you, and 2 of which are worthless. And I've got 5 useful cards. We then play our cards face down simultaneously, reveal them, and they both do 2 things. The rulebook said each person resolves the 2 things on the card. And we're basically just trying to run around. If you look at the board, I don't know, have you got the board up on screen? If you look around the board, they have these golden circles zipping around the edge, the outside perimeter of the field. You're basically moving along that, trying to catch Snitch. And it's basically whoever scored the most goals is therefore going to have a stark advantage on the person who scored, because you've got more tactical options available to you to what cards to play. And also, if you scored 5 goals and I scored no goals, I mean, I can't play anything. I can't do it. The game's over. I can't chase the Snitch, basically. And that's it. That's the game. Whoever catches the Snitch wins.
The game is setting up the second part.
Yeah, exactly. The entire first half is set up the second half, and the rulebook certainly makes it look like the first half takes 10 times as long as the second half.
A lot of cards.
There's a lot of cards. Yeah, well, the first thing you do before the game, I said earlier on that you play cards. You can play cards during your turn. I believe that's the case. But there's also a phase before every round where you can play it. What was it called? Like an adverse I can't remember what it was called. It had a funny name. But basically, you can play a tactic down for the rest, which will I think influence the turn. But yeah, and there's a moderately interesting goal mechanic where there's 3 hoops you can shoot at. So we basically each blind, me as the chaser and you as the goalkeeper blind bid which hoop I'm going to shoot at and which hoop you're going to defend, and that doesn't decide who scores. If I throw at a hoop that you didn't defend, I just get like a bonus +1 bonus to my shooting roll. It looks like trash. I think the game looks incredibly boring. Absolutely no freaking interest whatsoever, and I think it's also very expensive.
We've got some. So it looks like the basic pledge is 76 quid, 85 euros. You can get the All-Star pledge for 117 or 30 euros, and the World Cup pledge, which comes with the national team expansion, which is essentially just sculpt, 100. Chris, do you remember the business about this Harry Potter exclusive miniature?
I do. So just want to ask, Selketh, I believe that the Snitch is shuffled into the lower half of the deck. I think they use a pandemic-style system to make sure it doesn't come up too early, but it's still unpredictable when it'll come up. Yeah. So what? This is the other thing I mentioned: how the game was the project was cancelled and reborn. Originally, in the early one, so for basically in the core box, you get a team for each house: Gryffindor, Slytherin, Hufflepuff, and Ravenclaw. If you scroll down to the Gryffindor team, which is the best example of this, but this is not the only one. I have to find the Gryffindor team. Have you found it?
I mean, I found the teams here. It doesn't just says Gryffindor team.
Yeah, that's it. Where you were there. That's what I need. Oh no, that's not it. No, that's not it. I'm sorry. My bad. Hang on, I'll find it. It names all the characters basically. It's further down.
Oh, you can get James Potter.
Yes, he's been thrown in there now. Okay, I found it. It's below rulebook. I would say about 3/4 of the way down the page.
Going past the add-ons. There, you can add on dice towers that represent.
Yeah, keep going.
Snape and Hermione, Hagrid.
Yeah, so you can have there's optional rules are spectators, which can modify things. You can spend some resources to upgrade characters or buy spectators, and they can give you benefits. Keep going down.
I was going to ask about the golds because I was a bit bummed out they weren't 3D.
You can make them 3D only at Kickstarter.
On videos now. Have I gone too far?
I don't think so.
Game key
no, I
elements.
think you're okay. I think you're okay.
Oh,
Keep going down.
We're still going. Oh, this.
Yeah, it's beyond that. It's beyond that. You scroll slowly.
Hey, look, if I scroll too fast, it's really annoying to look at. Here we go. Is this what we're talking about? Gryffindor team.
Yes, this is it. Right. So, on the Gryffindor team, they have the twins, George and Fred Weasley, Demelza Robbins, Angela Johnson, Oliver Wood, and Dean Thomas. And then, notice who is missing. Why is this?
They got everyone. They even got Gryffindor Seeker, the famous Gryffindor Seeker from the books.
Yeah, first name Gryffindor, second name Seeker. Right?
It's an amazing coincidence.
So despite the fact that Harry is the Seeker in Gryffindor, literally the entire series, there's a whole plot point that he's not meant to be on the team in the first year, but he is. They decided to take him out and make you buy. And they did this with the Cedric Diggory for Hufflepuff. They did this with Cho Chang for Ravenclaw, who all were the only ever named Seekers. Cedric Diggory Hufflepuff might have had a second name Seeker. After book 4, I don't know. I can't remember. But they took out all the major characters and stuck them into an add-on pack. Now, there clearly was backlash over this, and I suspect it's the reason that they actually have relaunched the campaign. And now, as a Kickstarter bonus, you get a Harry Potter sculpt. It's a different sculpt, so now you're only buying the exclusive sculpt. And they've also have stretch goals unlocking, some of which are some of the other characters who were taken out, such as Cedric and Cho. But they still have that All-Stars box. So the All-Stars box has now been essentially demoted to alternative sculpts of several characters, as well as being the only way to obtain a few other characters. But it's transparently obvious what they were trying to do, and I cannot believe it.
It's just to make an extra €30.
Yeah. There it is. That's national. The national team is a different thing. Whereas Star Players expansion, yeah, you get a different sculpt of Harry. The sculpt of Ginny and Ron actually seems to be the same now.
Right, but they weren't in the Gryffindor team. I mean, down below.
Who weren't? Oh no, but they're stretch. I think like I said, I think stretch goals now. I'm trying to find stretch goals. Here you go. All stretch goals. Yeah, so you get a. Oh, you don't get the stretch goals so far. You get Draco and Victor Crumb. Is Victor Crumb in the All Stars?
I'm enjoying your sound.
He's not. He's not. So only Draco so far and Harry have been sorted essentially. But if you want to play, if you're a Hufflepuff person, and you might well be, or you're a Ravenclaw person, if you're a Harry Potter fan and you want to get this game and you want to play as your team, you have to pay extra if you want to have the pretty much the only named character on the Ravenclaw team. It's laughable, and the game looks like trash.
But it comes with tactical cards, Chris. That means it must have tactical play.
Hey guys, if that spoiler is referring to a new Seeker after book 4 for Cedric, I didn't say what happens. I just say there might be a new Seeker.
No, I think it's because Selkath is joking that Gryffindor Seeker died in the films.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I hadn't
You know?
seen the comment above. Don't sell, Curve.
Don't spoil the fate of Gryffindor Seeker.
But yeah, so look.
Or Griff, as everyone called him in the books. Him or her, yeah. We're not sure. Or they.
And yeah, the add-ons. I mean, look. The add-ons are what they are. The dice, the dice are. You know, I'm not backing this, but if I was, I wouldn't be buying the extra dice. The only thing I probably would buy if I was backing this is I think €10 for the dice towers is actually a good deal because it's 4 dice towers which you can actually use. Like you can actually use your house's dice, and also they're colored and tall. They're actually gonna make the stadium look. They're actually going to give a visual lift to the board, and they have a function.
Them around, Chris. Sorry.
Oh wait, is it 10? Is it? Hang on, is it 10 per? Is it 10? It's probably €10 per, isn't it? Per.
I don't know.
Yeah, it is. Oh my god, that's actually ridiculously expensive. That's €40 if you wanted them. What was your question?
Sorry, I was actually just looking for the dice towers because I spotted them and I thought they were a cool add-on. But then, if they're €10 per dice tower, that's pretty.
I thought it was €10 for all 4, which I would actually, like I said, I would have.
Yeah, it's just one cardboard dice tower. But also, I wouldn't want just one, right?
No, exactly. Who the heck?
I'd want all 4. I'm not buying a dice tower for the dice tower part. I'm buying it to make the pitch look cool.
Exactly. And then the fact that you can use dice tower is an awesome bonus. And you can also buy, Ravenclaw dice, Hufflepuff dice. You can buy dice for your house. You can buy Magic dice, World Cup dice, the Quidditch national team.
According to apparently, there's a special offer where you can get all 4 of them for €35.
Wow, that's cheap.
So €5 off if you buy all dice towers. I was just looking. I do have an actual rules question, but I was just looking at the stretch goals here and the miniatures for. Troy Irish. I don't remember him, but I like the foil hoop cards.
I looked into this. Troy Irish is one of the Irish Seeker. He's the Irish captain in book 4 when they go to the World Cup.
I don't remember Gilderoy Lockhart ever playing Quidditch in the book.
He doesn't play in the books. I think he brags about how he was brilliant at it.
Okay. Well,
can we just take a moment to please remember and be sad that Hugh Grant was offered the role of Lockhart and had to turn it down due to scheduling conflicts, and be sad because he would have been brilliant.
But wasn't it Kenneth Branagh who plays him in the end?
Yeah, and he was fine. I'm not a Kenneth Branagh fan. Yeah, but Hugh Grant would have been so much better.
You think so? I thought Branagh was really good.
I think so. I think so.
Well, I was just looking at these 2 miniatures as well, and I'm like, wait a minute. This James Potter looks like James Potter as an adult.
It does look like James Potter as an adult. Although,
that's weird,
I guess
right?
it isn't, because bear in mind, James Potter dies at the age of 19, despite the fact the films portray him as 40.
Is he 19? I thought
How old is James Potter when he dies, Deb?
I thought he was in his 30s, right?
What? 21, she says. But okay, 20 is very young. People don't seem to realize the timeline of the Harry Potter books are kind of very cramped.
Yeah, so they actually had Harry in their early 20s then.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. No, but my actual question, which is probably a bit more pertinent than thinking about that stuff. But yeah, that does not look like a 21-year-old over there.
No.
I'm looking at these GIFs of them moving things around the board, and there's a shift and things like that. How does movement work?
Movement. So movement is it's just an action you take. There's no dice involved or anything.
Yeah, but there's no grid. There just seems to be sections on the board.
Yeah, there's sections. You just move from section to section, and then the number of miniatures you can't leave if you're outnumbered.
Right.
It's this disadvantage thing. So being disadvantaged, if you're outnumbered, it makes every action harder, and you're locked into a place as well. So you got to move someone in if you want to move someone out, essentially.
And the actual positioning within the sector doesn't matter.
No, The actual positioning within the section does not matter as far as I could tell at all.
Okay, well, I mean, I quite like that they give you the opportunity to set up the miniatures in each sector, like thematic or visual, right?
Yeah, you can make it look as nice as you want, ultimately.
Yeah, I guess I'm still sold on anything else. Miniatures come assembled, which is good because assembling flying miniatures.
The only thing I'm just looking up in the rulebook, so like what I couldn't remember was what was it? I couldn't remember if there was like rounds or not, or like if it was basically just action after action until you're done, or if there was like a reset section.
Scoring a goal is a real fun action.
Where is it?
This gives you there's a little typo on their page. I'm not
Yeah,
going
you
to make
can.
fun of them.
Your cards can block actions and stuff. Yeah, you can play them like to do stuff like okay.
So you play cards and then roll dice. So there's sort of like.
But no, you also no because actions like you don't play cards just to do actions. Doing actions is just what you do in your turn. You do a move action or a pass action or the cards seem to be intrepid moves is a thing I was trying to remember. You can play at the start of the turn. You can play intrepid one of your tactics cards as an intrepid move. I didn't fully understand. It didn't make a lot of sense, to be quite honest.
I'm just reacting to Yogi Bear in chat who wants me to build miniatures live on stream. I don't play games that sprue miniatures. But if someone wants to send me a copy of KDM, I'll build it on stream.
You can build my KDM miniatures if you want.
Pass.
But yeah, look, it looks like a super. I mean, frankly, the thing is, Blood Bowl itself is not super well designed. It's not like it is ultimately the same thing. It's just throwing the ball to each other and rolling dice to see if you're successful in tackling, right? And it just looks like that without the fun. So I'm not, and yeah, and then in addition to that, it's very expensive, and they've clearly been up to some very obvious shenanigans to try and make you spend even more money to get the characters you like.
Did they do the Harry Potter miniatures game, or is that someone else?
No, no, I don't think so. Oh wait, actually, did they? You know what? I think they did.
I feel like there was some shenanigans in that too. Having said that, the one thing I can say about Night
Yeah, they
Games is
did.
that
They did. Yeah.
they did do that. I once read the rules for the Batman miniatures game that they make, and I thought the rules seemed cool. That's my best takeaway from this. My most positive takeaway. I never actually played the game though. I liked it.
I've read the rules for this game, and I did not think they seemed cool.
Very well then. I guess we can stop talking about it. Shall we move on to
Yeah,
the next thing?
exactly, Southgate. Blood Bowl is humorous. Blood Bowl has character to it, and this basically, look, this is just relying on the fact that it's Harry Potter. It's as simple as that.
Bummer.
But yeah, sorry for being so negative for so
I
long.
suppose one struggles to picture a game of Quidditch where, I mean, I suppose infamously, the idea is that if the team who catches the golden snitch doesn't win, it's because the game has gone on for months. And in that instance, how would that translate into an exciting miniatures game? It just would, right?
Yeah, but like it's like in the fourth book, he when Bulgaria catches the snitch, and I can remember pretty much verbatim what Harry says when as they're cheering, like Ron's going, "Oh,
Chris, you went quiet. Why did you go quiet? Oh, we lost Chris temporarily. I don't know where his audio's gone. Unless it's on my end. Uh-oh. This might be on my end. Hold tight, people. Seem to have lost connection to my headset, which might... Uh-oh. Technical failure. Wouldn't be a Ready City Play stream without something happening. I know, I can't hear Chris either. Chris, remember what you were talking about. If you can hear me, try to remember what you're talking about. How have I lost connection to my headset all this? Everything was fine. So, oh, I just saw more money poured in the game. That didn't work. Make sure your Bluetooth it is definitely turned on. Yeah, it's somehow my computer just decided to randomly. Oh, deep. Maybe I don't think it's Skype, Eddie. I think it's my computer's decided to. Chris will have to communicate through interpretive dance. Yeah, Chris, do you know sign? I don't think it's a battery thing. Batteries seem. Anyway. Yeah, so I'm not backing Harry Potter Catch the Snitch, in case that wasn't clear, by the way. Just FYI, if you're all sitting there wondering. Ah, Chris is back! I've restored order!
Yay! Huzzah!
I don't know why.
He's shaking his
now. I guess it was the low batteries thing, although it makes no sense because the battery's fine. Charged it. But never mind. Let's not worry about it.
Not a problem. Yeah, I was Strictly Come Dancing starting. I don't watch Strictly, Rodney, I'm afraid. But I do watch the Bake Off.
Chris, what were you about to say?
It wasn't actually massively important. It was in the book when Crumb catches a snitch, Ron's like, oh, why is that stupid fool, whatever, and Harry says, oh, because the Irish chasers were too good. He wanted to end the game on his own terms, so he caught the snitch anyway, and that would be fine. It may be as something to believe if Ireland was ahead like by 1,000 points, but the game ends, and I looked this up earlier on to double check. The game ends 170 to 160. And the game had only been going on for like, I don't know, a couple of hours. So it's not like those scenarios that she paints in the background lore of like games that went on for weeks. It's like all he had to do was wait for his inferior team to score his inferior chasers to score one extra goal, and he could have drawn, or two extra goals, and he could have won. So it's like she wrote herself into such a corner with how stupid a game Quidditch was that she basically had to do this storyline to make it seem like a legitimate game where stuff other than the snitch does matter. And then these actual professional game designers have looked at Quidditch and gone, well, that doesn't work as a competitive game. We're going to have to completely alter the way it works and admit that the snitch is how you win.
Fair enough. Well, we're not backing it. Moving on.
Nope. Selkith, what do you get out of it if I back all the remaining games? Just me being sad.
Deep sense of satisfaction that you're broke and sad. Hey, this one only has 3 hours to go. Holy cow.
Oh my god! I hadn't realized that.
It's Star Scrapper's Orbital. I have a few things to say. Number one,
Good.
this is designed by Jacob Frixelius,
Oh
who
dear, that was
designed
one of the things I had to say.
he
No, go on. Go on.
designed Terraforming Mars and Space Station and After the Virus. And if you haven't heard of those other two, because nobody's heard of them, he designed Terraforming Mars. You know, it doesn't say from the designer of After the Virus here on the Kickstarter page, does it? And the other thing I was going to say is that it is created by Hexy Studio, or a Polish studio, and they made Hard City, which we covered on the channel, and I received a copy of a courtesy copy for making those videos, and I really like it.
Nice.
And
you also really like Terraforming Mars, don't you?
I do like Terraforming Mars, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Whereas I'm not actually a particularly big fan of Terraforming Mars at all. So this sounds like it's a game you'll be backing. I probably won't be. I have skimmed through the rulebook of this. Essentially, it is an engine builder, where you're building your it's a competitive game. You're all creating and managing your own space stations essentially. And it's on your turn. There's a slight tile laying aspect or card laying aspect with the way that you build up your space station, which looks quite cool. Looks fun. You all have your own independent one, and every turn you. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to prompt. I'm just trying to get to the rulebook section. That section of rulebook to prompt my memory, because it's not a very long rulebook. It's very short actually. I think the first thing you do every turn is. Yes, it is. First thing you do is you expand your space station, and those become your worker placements as well, because in the rest of the game is worker placement. So you are essentially creating your own pool of available worker slots with this, and there's an element of tile laying insofar as things have to connect correctly. You can't just put your cards down willy-nilly. And then basically there's 5 rounds you play, and people just do actions clockwise until everyone has passed. And the actions you're taking are basically using your workers to activate the slots you have, the rooms you have in your space station, fixing damage to the rooms, to the sections of your space station, because you can't use them unless if they're fixed. You taking cards from the array to add to your hands so that you can add them to the space station, and then basically at the end when you all pass, you take income and you kind of do it all over again. But the space station you're creating then also directly impacts things like your scoring and your income, insofar as at the end of every round you score anyone who's ahead in a certain color of space station cards played down scores points for this based on that. Your income also goes up if you have a diversity of color. So basically you're getting rewarded for having different colors financially, and you're getting rewarded in points for specializing in 1 or 2 colors. So obviously you're going to try and want to balance that out, and essentially you just do that 5 times until you're done. It didn't strike me, to be quite honest. I thought the synergy of the tile laying and set collection of the colors and creating your own worker spaces seems quite nice. I quite like the. It seemed like a reasonably new and fresh marriage of mechanics. I would be slow to back it solely based on the fact that I really didn't like his previous game, Terraforming Mars. It does have apparently two very distinct solo modes, apparently, to reflect the fact that it can be played kind of conquestily or economically. So Jonathan from Hexybeast will be pleased with that, I guess. That it has 2 different solo modes. But yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Ultimately, as I said, just 5 rounds. Keep taking actions until you pass. Creating your space station, using the workers, using the rooms that you've built. If rooms are damaged, they don't contribute towards set collection or towards income. You can spend resources and actions to fix things, but also all damage clears at the end of a round. So I guess that's another interesting thing to consider. Is it worth spending time and money fixing things to score with them in the end of round phase, or do you want to get them all fixed for free and suffer the consequences of not having them? It doesn't, as I said, it doesn't particularly. It doesn't sound to me. I think unfortunately I'm going into this kind of bias towards not liking it. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
And does that sound?
We back? We back, we back. Yeah, Chris is
Hey,
back. Am I
hey.
back on the internet? I'm not sure.
You're not. Yeah, you are. Yeah, we are.
Think we are.
What happened there?
Ah, I'm gonna kill my ISP. This should 100% not be happening. So, right. Just double checking the stream, everybody at home. If you can see us, that's cool. I'm just reloading my readout of chat and things like that here. Don't know if you load everything back up on my end. Stream is good. We hear you. Okay, cool. Thanks. Yeah, I'm gonna murder my eyes because I spend so much money so that this doesn't happen.
Have you called them yet?
No, well, yeah, I've been trying to call them all week, and I keep getting put on hold. Then I've just been so busy. I've just been like, oh, you know, say la vie. I will have to actually try to get through. Anyway, back to this. So, yeah, I can think of two games off the top of my head that involve engine building and worker placement. The first one is Everdell.
Yeah.
The Everdell game, and the other one is the Dwellings of Eldervale, which is how I just tripped up over that. Everdell and the Dwellings of Eldervale.
Funny enough, I don't really consider this very worker place. It says it does describe itself as such, but because you're only placing workers in your own rooms, and you also have to spend money to do a lot of the actions as well. To be honest, it's more that the workers are a type of resource to do actions than worker placement to me, because there's no as far as I can tell from the rulebook, there's no communal action worker spaces.
Right.
And I couldn't, and maybe some of the abilities of some of the modules are you may activate the room of an opponent. I don't know. I haven't looked at the cards, obviously. But
I mean, basically, all worker placement is competitive action selection, right?
Yes,
if you take
exactly.
out the competitive part, then it's just action selection.
Precisely. So, yeah, like I said, unless there's some of the powers or some of the events that you can play let you take other people's actions away. I don't know.
So there's Dwellings of Eldervale, which I've been playing, and I'd like to talk about in this review show. But it's a big Kickstarter game. It's a worker placement game, and it does this really interesting thing where essentially you've got a board. The board is a whole bunch of fantasy realms, and you can put your workers out into these fantasy realms to trigger different actions. And then when you've placed all of your workers, and it's got a great job of having some specialist workers, which I really like. It's also got a great job of sort of the way the workers function. It's not necessarily best to have them all, because what you do is at some point you recall your workers, and when you recall the workers from the board, because you put one out and then it's the next person's turn, and it is competitive because you can share those spots. But when you call them back, you've got a series of spell cards or something out in front of you that you build up a tableau of. So there's a little bit of engine building. I mean, they're quite hard to come by, these cards, so it's not like they don't really interact with one another, so there's not like a lot of combo building. But, there is an element of sort of engine building to it, a light engine building element. But then, and some of them give you passive benefits and things like that, but some of them require a worker to trigger. So when you recall your workers, all of the workers who you're recalling from the fantasy realm come back and you put them down on those cards in your tableau to trigger those cards. And so it's a really interesting mechanism, and sometimes you want to trigger the card before you're done placing all of your workers. So you'll actually place fewer workers so that you can do a recall sooner. And it's a really interesting decision. It's basically the fundamental thing that makes that game interesting. You know, if it didn't have that, it would be less sure. And so I'm just kind of, so I'm sort of like, I'm looking for the thing here that sort of interests me. And I haven't seen anything. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I've taken a very cursory glance here, but I'm not seeing anything that sort of jumps out at me here as being like sort of super. For some reason, I'm just having a slight negative reaction to this GIF here of the cards being laid out. Because fundamentally, I like building stuff.
I quite like that.
I like
aspect.
spatial puzzles.
Nice.
I'm a huge fan of. Galaxy Trucker. So, you know, building something like this, not unappealing. What I don't like is how these cards are all facing different directions. And I have to read them.
That's the thing. I think that's to make the spatial puzzle. If you can't put everything everywhere, you have to connect. You know, you can't put everything anywhere. Rather, I'm assuming there's going to be adjacency bonuses and stuff as well. I'm assuming there's going to be like bonuses for this room gets a buff if it's adjacent to this color and this color or something. I can only assume. Otherwise, I don't fully understand what the point of it is. There is actually no point. Actually, that's the thing. As far as I can tell from the rulebook doesn't say anything that makes me think there's any purpose whatsoever to the tile placement aspect. Really? So I'm assuming it's based on the cards.
Bizarre. Like,
well, as I say, I assume the cards themselves will have either requirements or incentive.
I don't know. I mean, all of these look like they just have sort of basic marginal costs less. I don't know. What are those credits? The box cargo. Oh, look, the military core module says when building military modules gain. All right, but these are modules. No, these are core modules.
Yeah, matching the color is reduces the cost by 1.
Not for all modules, right? Like the commercial module says at the beginning of the year, just gain a token, whatever.
No, build it. If you build a module adjacent to an existing module of the same color, the cost is reduced by 1 mega credit.
Mega credit. Like it's space money. So I mean,
that is the only thing I can see that makes it matter.
Huh. I mean, the thing is, it's not a super expensive game. I was just looking. You can get the core set with the little mini Kickstarter expansion for 29 quid or 32.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's definitely like how long does it take to play then?
I think it was only about 45 minutes, wasn't it? I definitely saw 60 minutes. 60 minutes. 60
minutes. Okay. I mean,
I'm certain I saw something say 45, but that could be a different game.
And then if you want to get the deluxe crew set, I don't really. Looks like they're just fancy standees. They're made out of organic glass. Interesting. I was like, what's that? I imagine it's something like my phone screen.
It's glass. That's organic.
Well, surely all glass is organic, right?
I would have thought
Otherwise
so.
Otherwise it'd be plastic? I don't know.
I'm not entirely sure how... Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it does... I don't know. Maybe it's eco-friendly.
Be careful not to stand on these, because it sounds like this would destroy your foot. But if you want to go all in, it's 81 quid or 90 euros. So it is a lot more expensive to go all in. You get, I don't know.
I feel if you like engine building and like, what's his name? Jacob. How do you pronounce his second name?
I said Frixelius.
Frixelius? If you like hit designer and engine building, then for 29 quid, it seems a reasonably safe investment to the core set.
Yeah.
If I was a fan of his previous game, I would definitely pick this up for 29 quid. I happen not to be, so I won't be getting it. But
if I wasn't going all in on fucking, sorry for swearing, everybody. If I wasn't going all in on Pursuit of Happiness, I'd probably buy it.
Yeah, I mean, I said I do actually like I like all the individual mechanics, and I think the merging of them looks reasonably fun. I actually think I'd probably enjoy this one. I like the look of it. I just don't think it doesn't stand out much. But for the price, I think it's probably commendable.
Well, yeah, it's not. I mean, if you're getting just the basic, I suppose there's shipping on top.
Well, true.
I mean, yeah, like I said, nothing that jumps out at me as being like major selling point, but also not a huge.
Yeah, I mean, shipping to most EU countries is £11. It says, sorry, €11. So I don't know, £8-9. So yeah, you get the whole thing for including shipping for under 40 quid.
Yeah.
But if you want it, you've got 2 hours left to decide.
Oh my god. Whoa, 2 hours to go. Hey Chris, what's next?
That's it.
That's right, it. We actually usually have a bunch of other.
We usually have far more, but in a way, I think in a way,
coming soon to Kickstarter, but
there isn't much that we.
But I didn't actually take a look. What we can do is we can quickly take a look at this section here. If there's anything.
Because the thing about ISS Vanguard is it's not coming soon to Kickstarter.
That's true. Oh, Nemo's War, Journey's End Expansion and Ultimate Edition. I do know people who are solo gamers who speak very highly of Nemo.
I have heard that.
I've never played it, but I've heard that as a cooperative game, not super. As a cooperative game, wait a minute. Is that an Iron Harvest? Those are games. I thought there was an Iron Harvest board game. That's USS Freedom? The USS Freedom. What is that? In any case, yeah, Nemo's War's coming back to Kickstarter. That might be solo gamer lauded by gamers. USS Freedom by Dreamcraft game. 13 days to go. Starter Craft games upgraded 4. Campaigns in total. Aeolus, Exosis Godslayer, and I've not heard of any of these.
Why is Harry Potter there?
What?
Why is Harry? If you go into the USS Freedom page and scroll down, Harry Potter is there for some reason.
Oh yeah. A fun, cooperative, open-world, free-roaming, space-themed board game with Harry Potter. Sailing the vastness of space aboard the Starship Freedom in its 3-year quest, a fully replayable campaign that consists of 36 standalone missions lasting. I'm already.
Yeah, I'm not interested.
36 standalone missions lasting. Fully replayable campaign. I long for the days of like, this is a 2 to 3 hour game that completely resolves at the end of the evening.
Once in a while.
Yeah, the reason we're joking about ISS Vanguard is of course because
but we can check it out.
Oh, they stole the chips from Terraforming Mars.
Oh yeah, those horrible, poor quality cubes.
Yeah, they're terrible.
Why are you still looking at this?
I don't know, because
we don't want it.
Chat mentioned it, and I don't know.
But we've nothing insightful to say about it. We haven't researched it.
This is true. We haven't read the rulebook. We don't know anything about it. So there you go. Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of running a spaceship, but I've got to reserve my spaceship time. Rulebook for ISS Vanguard.
When indeed.
But there you go. So this is something that you can check out if you like the idea of a campaign game that involves a spaceship flying through space. Some very quirky characters. They do seem to have got quotes from quite a lot of high level or prolific uh, media content creators.
That's not true. We're not there.
Well, that's true. I mean, that's their first mistake. Anyway, might be worth checking out. Still got 2 weeks to go on this one. Only got 400 backers. Only just funded. So, it's, I mean, at least fortunate and will get funded if you're interested.
Mm.
There you go. So I guess we're gonna wrap up our Kickstarter bit now, because we've run out of stuff to say. Did you receive anything recently that you were excited to play?
I received several things recently. I received Viscounts of the West Kingdom.
I haven't played it yet.
Have you got your copy?
I do.
Yeah, I'm very eager to play that. We'll probably try and fit that in sometime this week. I've also received, this isn't technically a Kickstarter. I say technically, it isn't a Kickstarter. Rococo Deluxe, which was pre-ordered on, I don't know, was it Game? It wasn't GameFound, but it was pre-ordered through whichever pledge manager it is that Eagle Griffin usually use. It was going to be a Kickstarter, and then there was such overwhelming. There were so many people interested. They said, "Okay, we're just going to skip the Kickstarter thing and just do a pre-order campaign," essentially. And that arrived yesterday, and Thursday that arrived, and I'm very excited to play it. Might even play it tomorrow or late this evening, depending. And there was something else. The Chronicles of Crime arrived yesterday. All new Chronicles of Crime stuff. So that's going to be very useful for the rest of Second Lockdown, because we're huge fans of that. We played all the content from the original first Kickstarter. Super Fantasy Brawl, of course, arrived a few weeks, 2 weeks ago, maybe a bit longer. I've played that a couple of times since. I've lost both times. I'm very upset about it, but I'm really enjoying it still, using different characters. I love how the games are so short, and despite the fact that it's got a lot of miniatures and stuff, it's quite a quick setup and teardown time. It's just roll out the board, because it's a neoprene mat, or take out the board anyway. And then and all the trays are labeled, so you know which character goes into which. The symbol of each character is next to their tray slot, so it's easy to put away. There's no like, oh, is he the one who fits in this one? It's really simple. I think we've probably played the whole thing, take it out, play it, and put it away in about an hour and a quarter, or so. Which I'm sure we can get down to less. So I think that's everything that's arrived I've been playing lately. I feel like there might be one more.
I've also been playing some Super Fantasy Brawl, which I've been enjoying. Dwellings of Eldervale, I think I talked about that last time that arrived. I've been playing that and enjoying it. I've not got the Viscounts table yet, but I get it to the table and try that out. I'm also interested in the Tomb Saga. I got the Saga. Did you get that?
No. Oh, yes, I got that. Yes, I have that as well.
A bunch of mini bits and pieces for the other 3 games, plus a overarching sort of thing you can do with all 3. Apparently, playing through all 3 games as a sort of ongoing solo mode is quite good. So I might be interested in checking.
There's a competitive version as well.
Yeah, there's a competitive version and
cooperative version. I meant to say.
Yeah, there's competitive, cooperative, and solo in Saga, which is linking all 3 of the West Kingdom together. So that's really interesting. I got through my Jagged Earth expansion stuff for Spirit Islands. I've been that and love that. I'll be trying out the new spirits. I like the extremely advanced ones that I can't figure out. There are so many options. Particularly one called I can't remember what it's called now. God, like Endless Forms of Stars, or Stars Take Form, or something. It basically just gives you all these options. It's ridiculous to try to figure out. And I just kept feeling like getting myself stuck. But that was fun. It was fun to fail. And I haven't had a chance to look at Tidal Blades yet. And Yeah, Alter Quest. I didn't back Alter Quest, Yogi Bear, and I'm kind of having a bit of backer's remorse on it because I've heard a lot of really good things about it. I would like to
Likewise.
check it out. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, that one I've got nothing to say on at the moment.
Oh, of course, Etherfields arrived, and I just briefly opened it and closed it again. We're looking forward to trying it, but it's kind of one of those games where I'm like, I don't want to try it until I'm ready to really try it. I don't want to like play it for an hour of an evening. I want to get my teeth into it when I'm ready.
Yeah, I reckon it's probably best to play through the first two Dream. Yeah.
First two.
Yeah, because
Okay.
they sort of get you. Because the first was just a tutorial.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, but we'll get there eventually. I actually finished the last Awakening Realms campaign, Tainted Grail. We played all of it, so I'm hoping we can actually play Etherfields properly as well, and not just play it once and then forget about it forever. Yeah, that's what I've been doing. So hopefully Rococo and Viscounts over the next couple of days.
I'd like to do it. I'm sure there's more stuff showing up.
Oh yes.
Now that I think they've just done retail release on. I'm literally looking over here at my board game shelf. But yeah, I'm supposed to. Yeah. Anyway, I think that's gonna wrap it up for us today, guys. I'm just gonna start waffling. But thanks so much to everyone who's joined us for this live stream. I hope this Kickstarter live stream has been useful and helped you decide if these are things that you want to get involved in or not. But we will always, of course, be back next month for another Kickstarter commentary. And if you want us to cover anything specific in that, please make sure you leave it in the comments down below on this video, because I always check those and we can add them to our research list for next time. And that's yeah. Next month we will all be broke. ISS Vanguard. Yogi Bear, what makes you think it will be launching in December? Awaken Realms has made no official announcements.
Also, let us know if you back any of the games for this video. I'd be interested to know.
Yeah, please do let us know in the comments down below. And of course, if this has been useful, Reddit, please do a like. And if you'd like to support this kind of content, check us out on our Patreon initiative. See you all in the next video. And hopefully Chris will be back too.
See you soon, guys. Thanks so much for joining.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.